bedroom shadows, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on, I wake up paralyzed. Ghostly apparition hovering over me, asking what it wants to know. I'm shaking now, it calls out my name, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on, I wake up paralyzed.
This pain of coming back to life, I feel everything, everything. When I open my eyes, your face, I'll never forget. Your horror, my pain, I'm alive, living again. I feel every stitch and every scar. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. Like a god, do you feel like a god, creating without thinking, no pros, no cons? You let me walk, you let me see, you let me feel. I found her, but she did not know me. I reached for her, but she recoiled in horror. I wanted to beg anything for her love, the look on her face. I want out of this place. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. It doesn't matter, it can't matter no more. I'm incomplete, I'm missing me. The world is darker than I remember. I wanna love her, but this heart is not mine. I wanna touch her, but these hands are not mine. I wanna tell her I love her, but this voice is not mine. Looking into her eyes, purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. Revenge shall be mine, I'll catch you in time. You gave me the pain of coming back to life. I want you to see me, look what you've done, what you've done. A man no more from a madman's hands. I walk alone, no part of me is home. Place me back under the stone. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. As I am. What's my purpose? The tide is turning, and not in our favor. The wave reaching a dismal height. A new cycle has begun. The collapse of kingdoms, a new world rising, politics colliding. The truth becoming a stranger. The mouth of a new era opening wider. A ceremony of innocence swallowed. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. An image, not one of holiness, a shared imagination, a symbolic revelation, a vision of darkness, a creature born from the chaos, a collective consciousness, brutal and godless. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. 2,000 years, the end of an era, history moves, it bends. When morrow become extinct to humanity. Salvation hides where many won't seek, as an uncontrollable darkness swallows the world whole. Prophecy.
Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. Oh, man. So, got a lot to go. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Yes, please do that. Hit the like button. Got a million things happening here in my life. I don't know how you guys are doing. Oh. Do you want to say hello?
What's up, everyone?
Hey, everybody.
Oh, let me turn this down. There we go.
Perfect.
It's too loud.
Okay.
Did it switch back to you?
Yeah.
Because earlier, before we started, it turned the camera.
The camera's
on by
acting
itself.
funky.
It's weird.
Yeah, there's been some weirdness happening.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me see. Just testing it out.
And you guys, whoever hasn't gotten their name in green, get your name in green, because
Fix the chat.
that will get you the Thursday show, which is the
members only.
members only. Thank you. My mind is.
Join the Patreon as well, so you can watch the Tuesday show.
Yeah. Right now, I'm being pulled in a million different directions. Reading the comments here, letting people join the chat. Sorry, folks. Just thinking.
Ooh. PG63 says, I may not be able to keep up on chat. I had a heart catheter Thursday, and of course, I went through my right wrist, my dominant hand for typing. You're a trooper, man. Or man,
Thank you for being
girl,
here.
male, female, person, human, life form. Thank you. You're still with us through all that, man. Let's see. There we go.
You guys are on mobile as well. If you wouldn't mind hitting the hearts, or just
Yeah, make sure you hit the like and make sure you hit talk. You take your little hand like this. Here, let me show you how. You take a little tiny hand and you press that little heart button right there. See, just like that. There we go. With your
I
tiny
prefer the
hand.
confetti, but
And then you come over here with your little hand. You hit the like button right there. Just like that. And if you don't have a tiny hand, come on now. There we go. If you don't have a tiny hand to do it with, then I suggest you get one. But in the meantime, your normal hands will also suffice. We will accept your like button and your heart presses from your normal non-tiny hands, but we do prefer them with your plastic tiny hand.
or if you just have abnormally big hands, I would suggest getting a bigger, like abnormally sized phone. Either way works.
Jacob, the little hand is freaking me out, man. I'm gonna take my strong hand. I'm taking my little hand. I made them by hand.
Folks, I'll be right back. I'm going to put it on Okay, so you guys know how I was just waiting actually right now for the notes. I have a confirmation from. Okay. I was working on this up until leaving the house. So everybody's okay with their names except for one person because I don't have, I hate to do that. I don't know. One of those things where you don't want to
Assume.
just assume something. So tonight's story, though, well, I don't say it's a story. I mean, it's like a series of encounters involving something. You ever find stuff weird places and weird places?
Like stuff that went missing and it
Yeah,
shows up in
because
someone-
tonight we're going to talk about that a little bit too.
And it shows up where you've looked 1,000 times.
all the time.
Like
So
that key.
okay, so I was just about to say that. Has anybody seen that thing?
I haven't. Not since
Thank you for that donation.
not since
Sean,
last
first
time, and
one
I don't
tonight.
remember tiny gloves for Anthony Stone. But yeah, the last time I saw it was at the haunted house,
Yeah,
and I haven't seen it since. Not yet.
and I thought I saw it once when we were living out at the ranch, like in a box or something. But I
thought
don't.
we had it at this house too, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought like,
Didn't you say you saw it somewhere?
yeah, I thought I found it in one of the boxes here, but I haven't seen it like anywhere else.
Yeah, the weirdest place that I'm going to say is because you know how all this weird stuff happens up here. The weirdest place I ever found that key was right there on the front desk up here.
Yeah.
When I
I
came in
remember
to
that.
do the mail offs one day, and Anthony was still downstairs because we had a call from work, and it was mid afternoon, and I came up just me by myself, and the key was right there, and so I didn't want to leave it up here. So when we moved the last time from the ranch, we didn't move to the ranch. We just moved part of our stuff from there and part of it into town. I took that key and I threw it in one of the boxes in the storage, but we had 3 different storages, and I can't remember which storage we were at. And I was standing there with Adrian, with his younger brother, one of my nephews. I looked at Adrian, and Scorpion was there too, and I said, I'm going to throw this in here, and it's going to show up somewhere. And Adrian was like, really? And I said, dude, don't you know the history of that key? So the Scorpion started telling him about it, but dude, I don't know, man. I say, you know what? That's probably not the weirdest place I've ever found. The weirdest place I ever found was in my pants. Was in a pair of pants. Yeah, remember? It was in a pair of pants, and I had hung them up, and we were getting ready to go do something, all of us together. And I remember, I think we're headed to San Antonio, and I was like, I told my wife, I was like, look at this, keys in my pocket. And I just threw it in the drawer in the bathroom. Come back 3 days later, and it's not in the bathroom drawer. I'm not even joking, man. People think it's a joke. It's not a joke.
No.
We've told the story of that key and what that is.
Yeah, the first time I found it was in the same place that I've grabbed stuff from all the time, in that top drawer of that nightstand. And I go to grab something else, and it's right there on top of everything.
Well, tonight I'm going to tell you something, because the people that gave us this story, I'm going to tell you right now, it's weird. They took something from a national park that seemed innocuous. It seemed like not a big deal, but a friend of mine recently was out at Inks Lake. Forgot the name of the national. There's a state park right there by Inks. Look it up. It's not the Inks Lake Park. It's another one.
Okay.
There's a park right there. We went through there the other day. Me, you, Nelly, and Maddie.
Let's see.
And
Park is right by there.
we got 300 in here now. Weird thing.
Black
dude.
Rock Park.
Black Rock. Okay, so they were out there
Fitting
in
name.
that area, and it's over there by Lake LBJ, and then Inks Lake is right there. And they were out there, and they took one of these pumice stone looking things. And a couple of days later, their grandson had an encounter with a shadow being. And I told him, I said, get rid of it. Well, her husband takes it and throws it over the fence. Things keep happening. And then I told them, put it back where you got it. And so they did, and it stopped. But it's not just going to go away. Attachments don't just go, whoa, we're done. No, I want to get into it a little bit tonight too, but I don't think we're going to have time. So what I'm going to tell you right now, folks, if you're listening, and remind me, guys, to repeat this later, because I got a billion things going on in my freaking head. When you have to deal with these beings, and I'm going to talk about this probably tomorrow. It'll probably be tomorrow that we'll hit on it, because tonight the story encounters that we got going on, they're going to take up a lot of time. So if I don't get to it tonight, I'll try. But if I don't get to it tonight, then let's focus on trying to get it tomorrow. Tomorrow will be when people come. We always get a bunch of people too that come in and try to tell their encounters on Monday. If you're a person that follows the show, and then you probably already know, Mondays gets pretty full. We get a pretty good crowd in here, and so you know, and if you know, there'll be a bunch of people getting into the chat, and there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I want to get as many people in here as possible so they can hear what I got to say. Ace Outdoor says, glad Tony is safe. Yeah, us too, man. Us too. Thank you for checking out. Let's see if there's any bruises on him. Tony, you got any bruises?
Yeah. You got any bruises? You got bruises on you?
No.
You got.
All right.
I was about to say you got to act more scared.
Yeah, he didn't have any bruises on him.
I'm happy to be here.
Right.
I'm here entirely of my own will.
No, say you're related.
Say
you're elated.
I'm so
elated. Elated.
Excited.
Well, I'm gonna smack them glasses off. Elated. Say
don't have to test my patience, boy.
Oh, the demons are getting me. Oh no, Anthony.
There we go.
Oh, God.
Get out of this Asian boy.
Oh.
Get out of the Asian boy. Get
Oh, I'm back.
Okay, good.
That was just a scary demon.
Slap the ramen.
Terrified.
See, I didn't hit. For the record, I was not hitting Tony. What you just witnessed was a demon that overtook him. I smacked the demon, not Tony.
So this person Ace says, if that's his, okay, we'll pretend like your name is Ace for the show, right? Mr. Turner, I was mistaken. I'm so sorry. I love the show. Sure you do. I'm sure you do. Another thing I want to say, though, all joking aside and all whatever, haha, this is what I'm going to say. And I'm not going to get into a big old spiel, I promise you, because I don't want to take up the show talking about all this bull crap that's been going on. I'm going to ask this once again, if you guys would please pray for Nelly. We have a doctor's appointment thing. They're going to do this deal just on Tuesday. Pray for us, please. Just pray. I'm not going to ask for a bunch of crap. There's people going around saying that Nelly doesn't have the health issue that she does. She does, and we could use prayer, please. We're not asking for donations for the bills or nothing like that. Everybody's broke. This economy sucks. I get it. All right, but we were in a very large group. A Bigfoot group that's run by somebody that I know, and they literally went and made up lies and got us kicked out of the group. But the people that were in the group actually, I'm just going to go ahead and post. I'm just going to say this here. This is what we're dealing with here, folks. So this is what they said to us. Says Josh lied to Daryl Denton's group about Nellie Clinton having a tumor and an aneurysm behind her left eye. I repeat, it was a lie, and Josh had many Christians praying for Nellie Clinton having a tumor and aneurysm. They like to call her Clinton. It's diabolically evil. How do any of you think God felt about that lie, tricking Christians into praying about something that's not true? So Josh and Nell played on people's sympathy, thinking they could con people out of sympathy and money from Daryl's group. He and Nell are laughing in God's face and spinning in his way. I assure you we are not laughing in God's face. Or I wish that was the case. I wish that so if I'm a little, rattled or whatever, because it's every day, it's every freaking day. And today, I'm a little aggravated because I got kicked out of a group because of lies. And oh well, what does it matter? You suck it up, you deal with it, and you deal with it, and you deal with it, and you deal with it
every day
of our lives.
For 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years. While they lie and say that we've been attacking them for 3 years. And then the other one says he's been attacked for 2 years and he jumped in a year ago and started this crap. And when he was in the hospital, we prayed for him. And we're still going to do that. But one thing I'm not going to tolerate, and I don't care who they are, because we're not them. We're not like them. Okay? One of them did a review of some food. Okay? On one of their channels. I'm not going to say his name, and I'm not going to, this isn't posturing. I'm not trying to look like the bigger man or the better person. I promise you, this is how I absolutely feel about that. Some people were making fun of him. It's not something to be made fun of, because I think because he's on government assistance, like because the government shut down, people don't have their food stamps and stuff like that. That's unfortunate. And you could debate all day about who's responsible, whether it's Trump or the Democrat, whatever. I don't care. So the guy has another channel, and he's one of the people that don't like us. And like I said, I'm not going to say his name. But I got to say this. This is the absolute truth of how I feel about this. He did a review of some food, and because they were making fun of him because he didn't, it was canned food or whatever. Let me tell you something. If you know what it's like to be hungry, okay, I don't care what this guy did. I do care what he's done. I care what he did. I care how he's treated us to a degree. I'm strong. You can attack me all day. All right. I don't appreciate what they've done and said about my wife, about my nephews, about my cat or my dog, or everything that they've done and said. I don't care what you do to me. I have a million arrows in my back already. Okay. But I think it's wrong to mock this person, because that person may be hungry. They don't have money for food. So that's why they made that video. And I thought it was really in bad taste, and I shut it down real quick. And one of those people that I kind of was like, hey, you're mad, be mad, do whatever you want. I understand that this person is the way he is, but I don't play around when it comes to that. You're not going to make fun of somebody who's because they don't have money or because they don't have food. That is not a funny thing. That is not something that you make fun of. That channel has nothing to do with any of this. As far as I know, he's never used that channel to attack us or anybody else that I know of. It's just a channel that he uses for his food, family, whatever it is. And so people thought it was funny, and I saw that, and I was like, it's very distasteful. That is not something you play around with, because PRT is not about that. Okay, let me tell you something. I know what it's like. I know I'm a big guy now, but one time I've been hungry. I've gone hungry. And I lived in my car at one time when I was 17. I've been in many times in my life not knowing when I was going to eat again. And it'll cause you to overeat and things like that, because you don't know when you're going to have it again. And so my apologies to these people. Even though you've done and said some horrible things, in my opinion, that's wrong. I couldn't be down with that. And maybe these people, they're mad at me now. Go ahead, join the other team. Go ahead, attack me too. I don't tolerate that.
No apologies for doing what's right. Don't have anything to be ashamed of.
All of this will be sorted out one day. They call it the terrible day of judgment for a reason, because we're all going to be judged, and all of your sins will be laid bare, and we all are going to have to answer for all the bullcrap we've pulled, including me. Nobody is going to escape is going to be out unscathed. We're all going to be taught a lesson by Christ. He's the only perfect person that ever existed, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's a fact. I'm a pissant person. Everybody else, and some of these people are like, "Oh, you're just another small time, whatever." Good. I'm a small time nobody. Fine. Why do you attack me then if I'm so small? I'm big in your mind. But just for future reference, just know that I don't approve of that. The guy was doing his thing for whatever to review, and they were making fun of him only having canned foods or whatever. That just really burned my ass. I'm sorry. And I know that I get it. I know this guy's done some mean things, and he continues to do them. He's not going to stop. But we can do better. And I don't mean try to be better than them. That's not hard to do at this point. I'm talking about just be better people. Because how would you like it if you were in that situation and someone did it to you? It's pretty sorry. And I'm not going to apologize to this person that was making the joke. You think it's funny. It's not funny. I get it that you think it's funny. Actually, I don't get it. I get that you think it's funny, but I don't. And I'm just, can we please not do things like that? Man, when you do that, you just really, hunger is not it's never a weapon. It's not. I've seen hunger on people firsthand, and it's just not cute. Exactly, Excalibur.
And I'd like to say this on that note, to add to what you're saying. If this person is redirecting the energy they've been using to attack us, and redirecting it to a food review channel, then I'll speak directly to you. I wish you the best on that, and I'm not being facetious or sarcastic. Regardless of what you've done and said, if you are taking time away from attacking us relentlessly and funneling it into a more positive outlet like a food review channel, then shame on anyone who's going to make fun of you for that. And I sincerely wish you success on that, and I hope that you continue to do that, because it is a more valuable valuable use of your time. It is not a waste of your time like attacking us is. And also, even though this is hard, even though your camp has made fun of our dog baby dying, I want to say that whatever pets y'all have, I hope that they live long and healthy lives. And I hope that y'all cherish them and they cherish you and show you unconditional love the way the baby showed us. We all loved that dog so very much. She's gone now. I haven't even talked about it with anyone at this point. This is the first time I've even brought it up. I really miss her.
Yeah.
And you people, y'all made a joke out of it when she passed. And that's not funny. That's very hurtful. And neither I nor anyone here would ever mock when one of your pets, which is one of your friends, passes away. We would never refer to one of your dogs passing as, quote, their dead puppy, as y'all have referred to ours. Not in a million years would that ever happen, and we will never take joy in one of your animals dying. We will never make memes about it and turn it into a joke.
And see, and here's the thing: we're not doing this because we want to talk about baby. We're not, and I didn't bring this up so
I'm just speaking from the heart.
We're not trying to look good or anything like that. I'm just being honest. When I saw what was, something that they were trying to do, I just can't get behind it. Sorry.
I mean,
not sorry.
There are certain.
There's just certain lines you don't cross, and I don't. They've, and I get it. The person started arguing and saying, "Well, they crossed this line, they crossed that line." So you do it too.
It takes nothing to show empathy, and despite what their camp may say and what y'all may believe, we are Christians here, and we try to strive to be good people, and even though the things that you may say are absolutely vile and they may attack us and you may try to hurt us with your words or your actions, we're not going to do the absolute most depraved thing to get back at you, because that's just not correct. That's what I think you guys don't understand, and it's something we want the people in PRT to emphasize and understand, is that it takes nothing to be empathetic, and it takes nothing to be correct. You know, you don't have to stoop to their level to fight them, because all it does, it makes you worse. You know, and
It's just it's not funny to lose to lose a creature who was completely innocent. Our pets are the only living things on earth that are capable of complete innocence and unconditional love. And when someone loses that, it doesn't matter who they are, even if they hate you. It's not that should never be a point of attack. Nor is when someone is absolutely destitute and they're hungry. That's not funny. It's not a point of attack. Even if you call yourself my enemy or I call myself yours, we're all still human beings. And I'm not your enemy. We are not your enemy. You need, and I've said this before, to everyone who hates us, you need to have higher standards for who you call your enemy. I'm just a man. He's just a man. Tony's just a man. Nellie, Maddie, they're just human beings. And if you really want to get into it and quote scripture, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's your enemy, not us.
and PRT may, you know, be this show, and it may just be us, the co-hosts, but at the end of the day, you're all a part of our community, and how you guys operate reflects this community as well. And we don't want to show that we allow that type of behavior, because, you know, if you found it funny, then you found it funny, whatever. But we don't, and we don't think it's okay to joke about those kind of things. And there are certain things that we will take a stand on about it being okay or not, and that's just not one of them.
Yeah, and the guy that, let me just say this to the guy who, it was a couple people, but one in particular guy, one person understood, the other person thought that I was being, as they call me, quote unquote, foolish. My message to you is, if you want to be mad, be mad. If you want to be friends, be friends. I don't mind. It's a misunderstanding, whatever. Just understand where my lines are that I don't cross. I wasn't trying to go to war for this person. Okay. I know what they've done. I know who they are. I don't play that way. I just don't. It's just bad taste. And if you want to be in your feelings and be angry, be angry. That's fine. I can't stop you from doing that. You said some harsh things. You know, they called me a soft and some other things. You know, I'm not soft. I promise you, I'm not a soft person. I am a person who tries to stand on principle. Do I fail? Yes, of course I do. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. Everybody makes mistakes. But this guy took it a little too far, and I'm not going to text back and forth with you for hours. You're just taking energy, and if that's what this is to you as a sport, then go play it somewhere else, because this is my life that these people are playing with. And I know you think that memes are funny, and I've said it before. I really don't like them. You don't see me making them. I know how to make them. I can do it. I don't really have time for it. And yeah, you know, I've done it before. I just don't, you know, at this point, I don't want it, because the people that, it's just not in good taste. Let's put it that way. If that person is there doing whatever they're doing, and they're not bothering you, they're not hurting you, don't mess with it. Leave it alone. Because in the end, if you fight the good fight, you'll do what you're supposed to do. You'll be fine. Let the enemy engage in whatever. They're going to be the way they are. You're not going to change them. Only God can do that. But they are wrong in one way. One of them is always espousing that you should stop praying for people because they're bad. That person is really, really bad. That person is really, really wrong for saying that. That person has shown a serious amount of mental disturbance, spiritual disturbance, and hate. I'm not going to say the name. And he's over on that side saying all kinds of stuff. But you, anybody who's listening, you don't stop praying. Jesus never says that. He's always going to the Old Testament for his anger. Jesus never says to stop praying for people. He says to forgive 1,000 times 1,000. So that's what you do. You forgive. I get the other person that was involved, and they said, well, you know, I don't want to see you lose your channel and get messed up by these people, whatever. Don't worry about that. They're not. It's all a bunch of crap. It's hurtful, bad, horrible crap. But at the end of the day, you know, he asked me how I was doing, and I told him, go ask them. They're the ones that are spinning out and acting crazy. I'm trying to run businesses and live my life. I don't have, you know, I have this much time to devote to that. I don't have a lot of time for that. Because if I did, I wouldn't be able to do this. But that being said, I don't want to make people think that I'm mean or whatever against the people that are supporting us. I just think there's a better way to support us than to say hurtful things about people's food problems. You know, and maybe I'm wrong. The person doesn't have this problem. Maybe these people were just assuming that. But when I saw it, that's what I felt in my gut, that this was happening. You know, and I thought, this is wrong. This is not correct. You know, I could be completely off base. I mean, maybe this person was just reviewing canned foods or whatever. Doesn't matter. You know, I mean, let him do whatever he's doing. He's doing that. He's not attacking us. He's not hurting us. Let him do whatever. But yeah, and if you do things like that, then, you know, it could come back to you. So anyways, let's move on. I just had to say that because I don't want anybody, you know. And so here's what I'm going to say, folks. When I got this, we're going to start the show here. This encounter that we got it started off like always. This person reached out to me directly, said that she had started following my show because of her daughter. Her daughter, though, is really big into horror. I'm not a big horror guy. I did watch a show last night. It was called Good Boy.
Yeah.
And it was a show about a dog who sees paranormal stuff happening to his owner. And it's really, it'll pull at your heartstrings.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't know what it was, what to expect. And so I watched it last night because I'm not a big horror person, but I watched it and I liked it. I thought it was a really good movie. It's a unique movie in the way that it tells it from the dog's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing everything from the dog's perspective. You don't even really hardly see the people's faces. Mm-hmm. It's just the dog, you know, he's seeing all this crap and he's like, what is this? You know, it's wild. So anyways, it's a pretty cool movie. Go check it out. So that being said, her daughter watches a lot of true crime and stuff like that. And so we're going to be doing some of that. And we're going to look at it from a spiritual perspective, which I think is not, people aren't really doing that. So I thought we could do that. And we're going to use random files for that. So coming in November, we're going to shoot for November. We're going to try and get this up and running so that you guys can go and check it out, because we're going to do analysis on all these different people and talk about what could be going on with the spirit, mind, body connection. So check that out. That's going to be coming out soon. But here is what happened here. So let me make sure I get this. Pull my notes up. I get so many freaking texts. I already got behind. There it goes.
In the meantime, Brent, the name of the movie was called Good Boy.
Good Boy.
Because he's asking.
I wanted to see it because it was about dogs. I love dogs, cats, birds.
Animals in general.
I love people too. I'm not one of those like, I hate people, I love animals. That's a cop-out. That's people that say that, and everybody says that. But think about it, folks. You shouldn't do that, because what is Jesus going to think of you? Well, I love animals. And God's like, what about people? What about your fellow man? I hate them. Well, that's not a good thing. You need to love everybody and do the best you can. That's what you're supposed to do. So anyway, the lady that reached out to me, her name is Vanessa. Her daughter told her, you know, hey, maybe you should tell your encounter with what happened to you at Big Bend National Park, which is in Southwest Texas. And she said, or not, I guess it wouldn't be Southwest, it'd be far West Texas in the Panhandle, right? And hold on. He said, Wolf has not worked in retail. Yes, I have.
So yeah.
Yeah, I have.
I saw that too.
I've had every job you can think of. I worked in a grocery store.
You worked as a server?
Yeah, I've been a waiter. Yeah. Believe me, I've worked in the food industry too. Quite a bit, yeah.
Have you had an office job?
Me?
Mhm.
Yeah, I worked in an office, a call center.
Mm.
I worked as a sales person. I've done everything you can imagine, and was pretty good at most of my jobs. Anyway, it's not important. That person just said that, but that's not true. I have worked in retail. I know it makes you wanna be upset and be angry with people, but you can't. You have to.
Hate is a thing. Hate and anger are shackles that hold you back.
When you talk, make sure you hit the thing. Yeah.
He's got it.
Who? One of you? Because there's like a voice coming over there. So here we go. So when she reached out to me, she says, "I think I had an encounter with a gargoyle, but it might have also been a Lechuza." And I said, "So which one was it?" She goes, "Maybe both." So she sent me a big old thing typed out, Messenger or whatever, and I said, "Look, if you don't even know what this is, and I don't think it's a one-time thing. Now, I could easily just throw it into a potluck and tell that one part of her story. But when you pull those threads, oh boy, and it starts to turn into a big old thing. That's how we get these Sunday shows." So I called Vanessa up, and I talked to her, and it's interesting to me. She's from a small town up in Northwest Texas, not far from where I used to live years ago. And well, she don't live there now, but she grew up there, and she's married now to her husband Cameron. He seems to be a pretty level-headed guy. He was kind of there at some of the conversation that we had, and it was her, Cameron, and her husband's best friend Jack, and his wife Alicia, and they decided that they went on a vacation out to the Ozarks in Arkansas, and they thought, man, this was a lot of fun. Let's go west this time, and let's go to Big Bend National Park, and let's go camping. Well, things were a lot different. You would expect something more to happen in the Ozarks. She was just like, we heard some weird, like screeching noises, but that was it. She said it sounded like a woman screeching. I was like, ugh.
That could be a cougar.
Could be anything. Could be an actual woman that's a cougar.
Yeah, that's true.
A woman on the prowl. Wow. No,
standard Ozarkian.
Do what?
Standard Ozarkian woman.
So they go out west and they go camping. Now, this is what I told her. At this point, she says, "I'm going to tell you what happened to me." I said, "Before you go any further," this is how I interview. I told her, I said, "Do you have anything that precluded this? Do you have anything that, that was, before this, a prequel to this?" She said, "Yes, I do." She said, "When I was 6 years old," she's like, "I was sitting in my bed. I was a little kid." She's like, and I'll never forget. Just mid-90s, And she's like, and I was watching cartoons. She's like, and I fell asleep, and the TV, I could hear, she's like, it was sleep paralysis. She goes, but I could hear the TV channel being changed. And she's like, and I thought my sister had come in there and was changing the channel, and I wanted to watch cartoons. She said, and so I was fighting hard to try to wake up, and then I realized there was something there on top of the TV. Now, she said we had one of those big Magnavox TVs. This is back in the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. She was a little kid, and she said that there was something sitting on top of the TV, and she could barely open her eyes, and she could see it, but she could not move. That was her earliest memory of what this thing was. She said that this thing was perched the way she said, that was her words, on top of a television. It jumped down. She could hear it, boom, down onto this linoleum floor at her grandmother's house, who was babysitting. And then this thing began to crawl toward her bed. When she eventually was able to, she goes, I was bobbing my head up and down, trying to move my body, whatever. I've had sleep paralysis. I know it's hard. And she said, I eventually could look and I could see the top of the ears. She said ears. They were pointy and they weren't real big, but the head was this big bulbous looking thing. And she said, and there was this weird kind of skinny little short snout, almost rat-like, but the ears were on top of the head, kind of like a rabbit, but they weren't real long. And then it came up and it looked at her. And she's like, I just remember it looking, and I was looking down and I could see it. She's like, and it was making this like hissing noise and this cracking noise. So like when it moved, it was like the feet were cracking, like they were like the popping. And she said it was a horrible looking thing. It was gray. She goes, and I just remember like I'm laying there, and she goes, even though I knew my mother wasn't there, I just screamed out, "Mom!" And then this thing just kind of turned and looked toward the door, scurried out of the room. She said at no time did it just evaporate and become a spirit thing, like, whatever. She said, no, it stayed physical. It looked like a physical thing, and it ran out of the room. At that point, she's like, I sat up and I was like, I could move. And she's like, and I was like, it was like I was holding my breath, and there was like this heat over me. She now at my grandmother's house, she said she didn't have, she was a very, very wealthy person, and she was also very frugal. So she lived off Social Security, but she had window units in the house. And she said, and in that room, once she thought the house was cool, Grandma would go around cutting off all the AC units, try to save money. She said, so it was warm, and it was in the middle of July. So July is typically the hottest month of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. So she said that she was laying there, and she goes, I couldn't breathe. It was just, the heat was stifling. She's like, but then when I sat up and I got the courage to get off the bed, she goes, and I looked under the bed real quick. She had one of those big metal bed posts, She said, I moved away from the bed. She goes, the bed moved like boom. Like it was weird. And she goes, it was that solid metal bed frame where it was all like the paint was already gone from it. It was brown,
Mm-hmm.
She was describing it to me. And then she said that it was like the bed moved, like it jumped like a foot, or so. And she says, I ran out of the room. She goes, and when I went by the door, I felt this cold spot. Like everything was hot, then it was cold. She says, then I go out in the hallway and it's just kind of moderate. Because I asked her, what was the temperature like the rest of the house? She's like, it was cool in certain rooms. And then the hallway was like normal, but that was weird that there was this big cold front. She's like, I felt like that thing was right there by the door. So I asked her, I said, how many times did you see this creature? She's like, I never saw it again, in my life up until after what happened to me out in West Texas at the national park. What she said was this thing, she believed that this thing was around, though. Like it was around. There was some presence there, And so she said that it was one of those things where she was constantly in fear, like she was going to see it again. Like for years, she would have things happen and she would hear noises. She's like, her sister would see it, though, every now and then. She'd catch a glimpse of it, but never had the horrific experiences she did. But claimed that in one of the houses they lived in, that she would hear voices. And she says, I can't honestly say I heard that. She goes, I heard what might have been voices, but they were muffled. She's like, but that thing, she's like, I saw it straight up. And she's like, and this was one of those weird like things that would happen periodically where she would just be like, she's like, I'd be sitting there coloring or playing with my light. She said she had a light bright that her mom had given her, she's like, I played with it. And all of a sudden I go to the restroom, I come back and there's like a weird smiley face made on it, something that she didn't do. Toys were moved around and things like that. So she knew it was there. So she thought maybe this is what this was. But years later, she goes out to the Big Bend National Park and she's camping in this one area. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Let me look at my notes here. The area where they were at was near the Chisos Mountains. In the Chisos Mountains in that area, she's like, we were right there near some very large trees. And she's like, where we were camping we decided we were just going to pull up and we were going to hike. She says, we ended up having to walk like a long ways. We got so far flung. She's like, when we were walking back, she's like, we began to hear what sounded like footfall. And then we heard what sounded like echoing, like a howling, like the wind would howl, but it sounded like it was echoing through the trees, if that makes sense. I kind of didn't understand what she was saying. She's like, I don't know how to describe it. She goes, but I know, she goes, we heard something like that. We knew it was there. Kind of like when she was a kid and she would have the feelings of that entity. She knew it was there, right? But she said that there was like this echo that when the wind would howl. And at one point, her husband's best friend, Jack, was kind of like, whoa, what was that? Like it kind of freaked him out. Like he thought it was kind of weird. And he's like looking at Alicia and she's just like, yeah, I don't know what that was. Her husband, Cameron, is a no-nonsense guy, and Cameron was just like, yeah, whatever, I'm not, I didn't hear it. He was pretending like he didn't, I guess. And she says, we get back to the camp, and we had an RV. She's like, we weren't like, because I asked her, you weren't in a tent or anything? She's like, no, we weren't roughing it. She's like, we were glamping. It was like, we just wanted to hike. Should we get back to the tent? And then it's still early. It's like 7:00, but it's already getting dark. She's like, and we went in late October. Nice time to go. And she said that, and this was in 2009. Okay, just for reference. And she said that we were in the RV, and so we were playing cards. She said we were playing gin rummy. I like gin rummy. It's fun. She said that they were playing, and she's like, and Jack was just whooping everybody. And so Cameron was like, let's play a different game. He's like, so he got the cards and started to shuffle them. During the shuffle, they all hear like a clack. And they're like, what is that? Jack was like, or Cameron was like, oh, no, that's just me shuffling the cards. And he did it again, and they heard it again. So Alicia kind of looked at her, and then Vanessa was like, at that point, I was like, okay. So I stopped my husband. I said, Cameron, that's not from the cards. And when she was saying that, toward the end of the sentence, they hear it again. It's like a clap. She's like, and it sounded like it was coming from above us. And we were like, what? And so Cameron was like, oh, it must be a bird on top of the roof. And Jack was like, yeah, well, we'd hear the bird scratching. So he says, okay. And he's, he goes out there and he looks. He's armed. And he says, there's nothing up there, nothing out there. Now, here's the thing. He's the skeptic. So, folks, I'm going to give you some advice. There's two people that probably shouldn't be looking and then giving you the rundown. The skeptic, who's going to find, even if they see the devil themselves, are going to be like, well, that's not really the devil. That's an insurance salesman. That's a lawyer. They're not going to tell you that it's the devil. They're going to take it at face value. The devil's like, shh, tell him I'm just here chilling. I'm a lawyer. Oh, okay, yeah,
That's
sure.
just the AC
There's just
unit.
a lawyer up there. I don't know why you're all freaked out. Even though it's the middle of nowhere and he's holding a knife, calm down. It's just a lawyer, And then there's the other one. This is what I call the spookster. The one that's just spooky. Everything is spooky. Everything. What was this? Did you hear that? It sounded like I heard it. It was like, and then you go into the bathroom. You're like, oh, the water's dripping. No. That's the demon. That's a demon. And because you don't believe that is a demon, you're possessed by the demon. Whatever. Pick one. The name of the demon. And that's what's happening. And they've deceived your mind. I was watching PRT the other day, and they're going to misquote me. And he was talking about the demons, and they said that's what that was. He said it. He did. Yeah. You'll never be able to find it though, because he deleted the episode, and there's 1,000 episodes on this. You never know. Now, you get people like that.
Yeah.
They'll message you, and I don't want to shy anybody away, but they'll message you and they'll be like, listen to this. And you hear like a person talking in the background.
Housekeeping.
You hear somebody talking in the background. You're like, who's that? Well, I thought at first it was my son who was there talking, but if you listen through his voice, you can actually hear the demon, talking. I didn't hear that. Well, you know what? You go to hell. You go to hell and you die because you don't believe in this sound that there's nothing in. Or let me show you a picture of something that's a dust bunny. And if you don't believe, then you're a piece of crap. And I believe all the bad things people said about you. And sometimes you got to say, hey, this probably is just a dust bunny. Because literally I had a woman who don't speak to me anymore, who saw orbs. Now, I'm not trying to be mean, okay, while she was cleaning. I suggested to her that it could be while you were dusting, there's
Kicked up some of the dirt or the dust.
The dust.
Yeah.
And then you took pictures and voila, your house is full of orbs. I didn't believe it. And I was like, well, but there's other things that you said happened to you. But most of it was explainable other than one or two things. And this person lost it on me. You know how often that happens when I try to be reasonable and say, look, I don't know. And if you tell me your story, that's what you say happened. That's what you say happened. Right? Well, I think in this situation, Cameron was the wrong person to go out and look. He goes out there and he comes back in, and you know what he said? You know what he says? Almost funny. I shouldn't laugh. But Vanessa was like, my husband was just being a lughead. He's like, there's a giant bird up there in the tree.
That's all there is.
That's all it is.
That's it?
And when he shined the light, what?
That's it.
No. And
No, I'm
when
being
he,
sarcastic.
when he shined the light on it, he's like, it had red glowing eyes.
Oh, those
That's
are
it?
that's normal bird
Then he-
color.
Then he proceeds to let's just keep, whatever.
Whose turn is it?
It's just a
We're
giant
playing
bird with red eyes.
So Alicia's very much like me. She goes, me and Alicia have grown close over the years because of our husband's friendship. They went to high school together. She grew up in a different town, so did she. But she said we were looking at each other like, what? So Alicia's kind of nudging Jack. She goes, and he's big, strong, kind of the alpha male type guy, And Jack was like, okay, Cameron, maybe we should go out there together and take a look at this. And he says, no, it's just up in the tree. It's no big deal. And he's like, he just keeps drinking his drink. And then, so Jack decides, hey, maybe you've had a few drinks. Let me go take a look. And Cameron tries to discourage him because I don't want them getting all riled up about it. It's just a big bird.
It's Big Bird.
He even went on to say that it was about the size of a vulture. And at this point, Jack was like, okay, we're in Big Bend National Park. This isn't the olden days. This is 2009 going on 2010. I mean, technology was there to look stuff up, but they didn't have any signal. So he says, I was going to look it up. I said, well, I ain't got no signal out here. And he goes, but I'm pretty sure there's no nighttime bird that's bigger than a vulture, because even a big owl isn't going to be that big. And he goes, well, let me go out and just take a look. So he goes out there and he comes back in, and Vanessa said he was pale. Jack, he's like me. He's actually half Hispanic, He comes back in and he's like, there's something really weird. And he's like, he's driving. So he's like, we're going to move. And Cameron's like, what? Like what? So he's like looking out the window, which according to Vanessa, you can't even look. It's, you're not gonna be able to see.
Mhm.
She's like, well, turn off the lights. And he's like, turn off the lights. Let's take a look and let's see if we can see. So they turn off the lights and they look, and Alicia and Cameron all see this big, not a bird. It is not a bird. She's like, to this day, she goes, I know damn well that was not a bird. She goes, I don't know what that was. She's like, but if I had to say one way or the other, at the very least, it was some Lechuza looking creature, but it looked more like a gargoyle. When I was on the phone with her, Cameron was in the background, and he said this. He says, look, maybe I was mistaken. He goes, I had a lot to drink. They hadn't drank as much. He goes, I don't know what it was. He's like, I just know that my wife gets prone to these episodes where she has sleep paralysis, which she still has. Some people outgrow it, sleep paralysis. But Vanessa now, she's like 40 years old, and still having it. And then, it's like you're kind of going like, okay, I don't really believe that that's what that is. I don't think that that's, I think that she was experiencing something that has attached itself to her. Now, if I had to say one way or the other, hang on one second, folks. Okay, get my notes here. Stupid phone. Come on. All right. So, anyways, when this happened, she was young. She was young, not like, whatever. Her and Cameron got married right out of high school. So they'd been married for a few years. And she's like, but I admit, she goes, I was young. I was not very old when this happened. She's like, I was just a kid when we got married. So she's like, I can't imagine, like now knowing what I've been through and everything. And now what was 2009 or 2010, I guess. How long ago was that? 15 years?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? So 15 years, right? And she said, like, you don't like realize like how much happens in the 15 years. So in Cameron's defense, up to that point, now I remember when she said she was a little kid. I think she was born in 86. So 6 years, she was like, what, 92 when she saw that weird thing, right?
Mhm.
So do the math. She's almost 40 years old. She's still having the sleep paralysis, which some people will have it and it'll go maybe once or twice when they get into their 30s and 40s, and then it stops a lot of times. It really does. But she's still getting it, and it is still very prevalent in her life. So 15 years later, and Cameron said that, he was like, 15 years go by, and I've seen so much now that I was ignorant. So I'm not making fun of the Cameron today, who's already, now he's a veteran of this crap. But back in those days, he didn't know. He didn't know, and he goes, I didn't know what I was looking at. Now, they moved to a different part, and nothing happened. This thing didn't go fly after him and stalk him or mess with him that night. But the next night, they get up the next day and everything, and they're just talking about it. They're like, man, that was weird. We're over here. This thing was like whatever. She's like, so they decide to go camping in a different area. They move, and then they go hiking again. The next night, after they see this thing the first time, she's like, we were walking back. She goes, and I found this rock that I thought was really pretty. And what's even weirder about it is it looks like turquoise. She said it was like a rock, but to me, thank you for that donation. It's like a piece of polished turquoise. And she said, I looked at it and it was a greenish blue rock, and part of it was really smooth, and it was in this little stream. She goes, I saw it there just, in the sunlight. I picked it up. I said, look at that. She's like, somebody must have dropped that there or left it. She's like, but on the other side of the rock, the rough side of it, as she called it, she goes, it looked like an eye. And her husband was the first one to notice it. He was like, ooh, it looks kind of like an eye. It's kind of, looks like Sauron or something. Like he makes a joke about it. But he's like, I thought that was weird. I thought, do you want the eye of Sauron in your pocket? She goes, I'm going to keep it. And she's like, as superstitious as you were? Okay. Then her friend Alicia is messing with it in the RV, and they hear boom, but right at the door. And the guys are out. They're outside and they're talking. And so they didn't hear it, because when her friend Alicia opened the door, she's like, who hit the door? They turn around. They're out there having a couple beers, and they're like, wasn't us. They look at each other confused. She goes, yeah, somebody banged hard on the door. So she says she looks down at that rock, and the eye looked almost like it was glowing, only because it was in the sunlight. But she took it and she was like, I don't like this thing. You can do what you want. She goes, but I'd get rid of it. And Vanessa said, as hard as I tried to get rid of it, I wanted to. She goes, when we went hiking later that evening, she's like, I took it out of my pocket about 3 or 4 times, Wolf, and I wanted to throw it. I said, why didn't you? She says, because I felt like I needed to keep it. And if I threw it, something would happen, right? Yeah. You get that feeling a lot, right? Like you think something's going to happen if you don't get rid of it. You feel like something's going to happen if you do get rid of it. So err on the side of caution and get rid of it. How about that? It's going to happen either way. It's going to happen, right? So she said at that point, she got real agitated. And she said, I just felt angry. I had all this like malice. Those were her words. Malice towards my husband and his bull crap, not seeing what I saw the night before. I had anger toward Cameron and Alicia for not being more forceful. She's like, but how are they going to force my husband to be different? That's not their job. So she said, we kept walking. She's like, and then we start hearing what sounded like an owl making noise. And she goes, and it freaked us out. And I said, an owl making noise freaked you out? She goes, no, it wasn't the owl. She goes, it was like a person imitating an owl. She's like, and then we heard there's like this trail, right? It's like a dirt trail with rocks and stuff. And they hear something behind them, like something has come out onto the trail and was walking with 2 feet. You could, if you're outside enough, and she was raised around horses and cows, so she knows 2 feet from 4 feet. I know I do. And she goes, and I hear it along the back of this trail, and I could hear something walking behind us. She's like, and I got really anxious. I got really nervous. She's like, and I thought, for some reason, I thought I need to take this rock and throw it out into the darkness toward the direction of this sound. And she goes, but I didn't do it. She's like, I don't know if this thing was the thing from the night before, because if it was, why was it walking and not flying? She's like, that thing the night before had wings. And we all just kind of agreed that it was a giant owl, which I don't think it was. She said, we got way out there. She's like, and I said, hey, it's dark now. We need to turn around. And they were just walking, kind of not really thinking about it. Have you ever done that? You start walking and you don't realize. You're just like, well, I'm miles away from where the heck I was. I've done it. I've just been walking and just end up, and you're talking to your friends or whoever's with you, your significant other, whatever. And so they turned around and they started going back in the direction that they came. And when they got to that particular spot where she had felt that anger, she's like, I walked into a cold spot. This is why it's important to go back into people's past and to talk to them about what may or may not have been something significant, a paranormal experience, for instance. She said, when I got to that spot, she's like, I felt it. It was cold. It was really cold. And it was a little bit chilly out there in those mountains. She's like, but it wasn't cold. I had a hoodie on. She's like, but it was cold. And she's like, and I'm talking like maybe a 10-degree difference. That's a lot. And she said that everybody else noticed it too. And they were like, ugh. She's like, and her friend Alicia kind of, when they walked right past that spot and it started to get kind of normal again, she said that they heard the noise coming from far off to their left. And it was like I can't do the sound effects, but the way that she described it, and she played a couple different things for me. Birds screeching. The closest that she came was a barn owl, but it was like a barn owl mixed with a cougar. Now, she played it for me, and I thought, that is the most ungodly sound. Like if I was out in the woods, me myself,
describe it sounds ungodly.
Dude, yeah, it freaked me out. And I said, but then that was not what she heard. That was just the closest she could come. So her husband had mixed a cougar sound with a screeching barn owl. And you're listening to this, you're going like, what? That would scare the crap out of you, dude. And so, even though I'm sitting there in the house, when I had it on speakerphone, when it made the noise, Beans was sitting there underneath. She always goes into the desk, right? Yeah. She's just sitting there sleeping. She gets up, and I just feel her like slide out by the desk by my leg, and then run up the stairs to go be with Nellie because she's like, oh, I'm out of here.
Yeah, she knows better.
I don't know what this guy's up to. He's into some weird.
You and your infernal screeching.
And, I'm gonna go be with Mama because this dude over here is into some weird stuff. He's listening to some weird noises, man. It's scaring me. And of course, Elvira was already up there. But it's funny because here's a little side note. When Beans runs up the stairs, I'm like, go ahead, run away, leave me down here to
in my time of need.
Go ahead, you chicken. I'm not scared. I look over at Martis. Martis like, man, I'm out of here too, man. You did some weird stuff, bro. I don't know what's going on. Then I hear, and I look, there's the banister. You can look through the banister, and I see Elvira, and she's looking at me like. She looks up and she's like, oh, man, I don't know what this is. And she runs back up the stairs. She just came to check it out. She was like, I was just hanging with Anthony, staring at him while he sleeps, something I do, and I hear a noise. I thought I would check it out, and I realized it was you and your weird people that you talked to on the phone. I'm going to go back up now.
Now back to a regularly scheduled sleeping.
So she ran up the stairs, too, and her and Beans were up there,
And so... You're the one making all that noise? Well, I'm going to pray for you.
You sound like Ed Gein on the movie. I'm going to pray for you.
I'm going to pray for you.
Sound like Mickey Mouse on there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what he sounded like in real life. I'm just going to say. But the dog, she comes down, she looks at me, and I just kind of look at her, and she's kind of looking at me, and then she's just making sure I'm okay because she heard it. And she ran back up the stairs. So we played it a couple times, and I don't know how to describe it. But she said that it was this awful noise. She goes, and we all looked at each other, and we didn't run. She said we didn't run, but we started walking really fast. We were briskly walking back to the RV. She goes, and I didn't realize how dang far it was. She goes, and we walked, and when we got to where we could see the lights of the RV, she's like, something flew overhead. She said it was like, and we were all like, whoa. Now, Jack is 6'5". He's a big guy. Cameron's 6'1". So they're both above average height. But Jack's a big dude. And, dude, she said he ducked, and she's like, he's got a big old bald head, and he's like, whoa, he could feel the wind on his head. And he was like, okay, that's something really large. He had the flashlight. He was looking, him and Cameron, and they were like, they couldn't see what it was. But Jack felt like it was not an animal. When they got back to the RV, they got inside and they were going to be there for one more night. They all decided they were just going to go back a day early. I don't blame them. There was literally nobody around where they were at. Big Bend National Park is a big, big place. And so they just decided that they were going to head out. They were like, we're done in the morning. We're going to leave. This is what happened to Jack. And then I talked to him in the middle of the night. And this is not a paranormal guy. He's not a believer per se. Like, he believes that this is real because he knows what happened to him. But this is the only thing that's ever happened to him, according to him, in his life. So you can't say like, oh, well, you're not a believer. Well, I mean, he hasn't had a bunch of weird stuff. This is it. This stuff that happened out there. In the middle of the night, he hears it again. And he's like, opens his eyes and he's like, he looks around and it's dark. He's like, his wife's asleep. Across the RV, he sees, what's his name? Snores. Cameron snores. He's snoring. He's like, Vanessa's asleep. He's like, and I look on my phone, he goes, and there are like 8 text messages from my mother. And he looks, and he's like, I'm all bleary-eyed. And he goes, and I look, and I was like, it's like, Jack, are you okay? Jack, I'm worried about you, Jack. His mother's Italian, and his dad's Irish, right? Or Scotch-Irish. He said, my mother was actually tall for an Italian woman. She was like 5'8", 5'9". He's like, but he goes, dude, she's a warrior. But she's also got this thing. She's like a striga. That's like an Italian, they call it a witch, but she's not a witch. But she's a healer. Like, she can put hands on you and pray over you with Christ. He's like, one time when I was a kid, I fell. He's like, I literally broke my leg. He goes, and it was a compound fracture. And she prayed, and it stopped bleeding. He said, I'm not even joking. He goes, and then it healed in 6 weeks, and I was running and playing football by the end of the summer. It was crazy. He's like, so his mother has this connection with him. And so she says, son, are you okay? Son, are you okay? Son, I think you're in danger. So he freaks out. He hears a scratching noise. And Jack's like, I'm a big dude, man. I'm 6'5". I'm a big guy. I'm not worried about this thing. He's like, so this is kind of funny. So he walks out of the RV with a weapon, a dust broom, because that's the weapon you choose to go out and confront the Lechuza.
It's a classic Italian weapon.
Or a gargoyle. Yeah, because if you're fighting a gargoyle, I mean, it says right there in the gargoyle, killer's manual, you're going to kill a gargoyle, to take the broom. It said, taketh up thy broom and shove it into the eye. I'm kidding, folks. I'm joking. It's not what it says. I don't know what it
actually says. Take off your slipper, your chancla, as some may call.
Yeah. The broom is the weapon of choice for Italian moms. Of course, the chancla is weapon of choice for Hispanic moms. These are deadly things. Even cryptids should be aware of them.
This is why they practice with the children, so that they can, when the demons
they're powerful enough.
Exactly. We should be thanking them for every time they beat us with those
because
things.
They've taught us all this.
Yeah.
What's funny too, though, people don't realize this, is everybody says Latin. Like somebody says they have a Latin temper or whatever. People don't realize that Italians are the first Latins.
Yeah.
They literally were called the Latins. The people who their predecessors, the Etruscans, called them the Latin. They were the Latin people. And the Spaniards would not have been Latin without the Italians, but that's because they had colonized the Iberian Peninsula, where Spain is. So it trips me out whenever I was talking to a Hispanic person one day, and this person's not Peruvian, Chilean. And I said, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Well, you're Latin." I was talking to this guy; he's Italian, and his wife's standing there. She's like, "No, I'm Latin," and I'm like, "Actually, he's more Latin than you." And he's like, "You don't understand, honey." He's trying to tell her. He's like, "We're at the dealership, right?" And he's over there telling. He's like, "No, I'm actually Latin." She goes, "Yeah, but I'm Latina." He goes, and I go, I look at him. I was like, Hispanic people always think that they're Latin. Really, truly, your Latin roots come from Italy. No offense to anybody. Don't throw the chancla at me, right? but they're the real Latin people. And I said, whatever. I said, you get it. He goes, yeah, I get it. Whatever. So it doesn't matter. I'm not going to argue with somebody and, the wife. I don't even know these people, But so he says, he goes outside. He goes, and I grabbed the broom. I didn't know what else to do. And he goes, my handgun, whatever, was underneath where they were sleeping. He goes, and it was like right there. He goes, and I would have woke everybody up. And he's like, and I thought about, doing it and just, I don't care. He's like, but I'm a big dude and I don't want to be like, he goes, to myself, I didn't want to be like a wimp. And I said, Jack, that's not being a wimp. That's just being prepared, And he says, I'm a big dude too. And he goes, if I would have had to crawl under there, there's like a table right there by where my wife was sleeping. He goes, it would have woke everybody up. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to use this broom. He said, I walk out there. I have a pocket knife too, though, and a broom. I said, did you tape it and make a spear? He says, no. Okay. He walks outside and he sees this thing hovering over the RV. He said the wingspan on this thing was probably like 9-10 feet. Whew. And he said it did not look like a bird. He said the wings looked like a bat like
the membranous.
Yeah. But he said the head, get this, didn't have the head of a man. No, he said, I didn't see the feet. They were pulled up, but you could see there might have been like legs. He goes, and I walk out there and then I go, oh, I was going to turn back around because I didn't grab the flashlight. I just had the broom and the knife. And he's like, and I look up, he goes, and I see it by the light of the moon. You could see it. He goes, but I didn't get a good look at it with the flashlight. But he goes, I know what I saw. And he said, and the head, get this. Now, I did lead him a little bit, I'm not going to lie, and I regret that because I hope that's not what made him say this. But I told him, and I kind of blurted it out. I got a big mouth, I'm sorry. I'm sure they're going to clip that. Look, I got a big, and then they're going to.
In his own words.
In his own words. He says he's got a big mouth. There it is, folks. Yes, I do. And so, but I said, was it kind of dog-like, because, the report we got that I always reference, the one from Alamogordo, and then the one from Dayton, Ohio. Mm-hmm. They were like 11, 12 years apart. And, in the early years of the show, we would talk about the threads. You pull a thread and you got that. And that's a thread, right? Well, he did. He said, yeah. He goes, yeah, kind of, yeah. And I said, okay, not just saying that because I blurted it out with my big mouth. He says, no, he goes, I did. I looked up there and it did. It kind of, so I let him describe it. I said, if you had to pick a dog, what kind of dog? He goes, man, it happened so quick. He goes, but I don't know. So I said, well, give you a day. You think about it. And he said he had to go get his oil changed on his truck and do all kinds of stuff. He messaged me back and I see what he says. He says, call me. And I said, I called him. I said, what's going on, man? He goes, I thought about that. He goes, you know what? It looked like a schnauzer. He's like, I was sitting there going over it with my wife. He's like, and after talking to her, I said, but did she see it? He goes, no, but she dreamed it. Mm-hmm. And so I said, get her on the phone now. Let me talk to her. Get her on the phone now, Jack.
Command it.
When you don't do what I say, when you disagree with me, I don't like it. I don't like it.
This is a cult.
We're part of a cult. You are now part of it.
Leave, Jack.
I am your Führer. Do what I say or I will become angry. I'm a very evil man, very evil. So Jack's like, yes, your war minds your yes, and he got her on the phone. That's exactly the way it went down too. If anybody says differently, I'm gonna be mad because you disagree with me.
It's true. I was there in spirit.
Yeah. So, anyways, here's what happens. He literally. He's like, dude, starts telling his wife what we were just. And I said, man, don't do that. Let her, He says, honey, come here. And he said he was outside, and I could hear he was like spraying something in the driveway, whatever. So we're sitting there talking. His wife gets on the phone. This is the first time I talked. And I tell Alicia, I said, what was the dream like? She goes, oh my gosh. And then he's like, I can hear him in the background, like, don't take the phone. He takes the phone inside. We start talking. She says, you're the podcast guy. I said, yes. She says, look, she's like, I had this dream. And while I was dreaming about this thing above us, trying to come down and trying to get into Vanessa, it was trying to get to her. She's like, I dreamed this. And that's when Jack, my husband, saw what he did. She's like, have you ever heard of that? I said, yes. point of fact, I have. Me and my brother, I was out on the couch one time when we were living in that haunted house down in South Austin, and he was in his room. And I'm not going to get into a big old thing. Y'all probably heard me talk about it before, and it'll be in the book. But he had a dream at the same time that I did, and it was of this like a gargoyle type thing. I remember dreaming that it was on the roof, and he dreamed about it too. So it was, but it's a little different with these two. It wasn't the same. It was him seeing it wide awake. And so I got the phone back to Jack. I said, were you sure you were? He's like, man, I was not dreaming. I was outside. I wasn't sleepwalking. He's like, I saw this thing. I said, I believe you. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a dream that was going on at the same time, because that's weird too. And he said, no. He said, but 3 times, and she had already told me this, 3 times they had a dream that was similar. One was they were walking together out in the woods, not in the Big Bend National Park, but just out in some woods. And it looked like where they were at in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. And I told him, I said, I've had a nickel for every time somebody from Pennsylvania told me about the Poconos. That's another weird place. It's kind of like Flagstaff. And you start to notice a pattern with these things, like these different places, like that area near Ruidoso. Mm-hmm. There are places, folks, I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, just be careful when you go camping out there. Yosemite's another one. Smoky Mountain's another one. There's a reason why there's books about people going missing in these places. Because there's
caves in these places too.
Yeah, and there's caves out there at Big Bend too, in the Chisos Mountains too. I mean, like there are people who see orbs, they see UFOs, see all kinds of weird stuff. So you might end up running into one of these critters. You see? Tony leans forward like, oh,
I want to see.
So it's one of those weird things where it's kind of like, I remember years ago, Lauren Coleman talking about the name game, things that have the weird name like devil's this and devil's that and all this weird stuff. And then, people see things like they'll see what looks like a Bigfoot, then it's a stump, then it's a Bigfoot again. I really think these things are, I don't think that thing was trying to appear to Jack. I think it was doing what Alicia said it was trying to do. Vanessa had no memory. She said, I slept like a baby. I woke up, I didn't know this had happened. Jack and her had multiple dreams, but then that was it. She said it happened about over the course of like 4 weeks. It was like once a week for 4 weeks, and then that was it. It was always toward the end of the week, like the weekend. She's like, Friday, Saturday, we're just relaxing, and we have these weird dreams. And so they went to see a therapist because they were also having some issues with one of their young children. But that was more about the child. But the child was seeing it had nothing to do with this. The child was having some anger problems, things like that. And I listened to what that child was going through. I don't think it was like this. This thing, whatever it was, a piece of it affected him. Now, we've talked about this on the Monday show. One of the reasons why Monday show is important, too. We talked about it on one of the Monday shows about fractals. Now, I don't know. I know yesterday's show or Friday's show. What is it? This is Sunday.
Yeah. Friday's show.
I don't even know what was yesterday's
with Sean.
Friday's show was with Sean. Did we get into the fractals and all that?
That was on the first
episode. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you go back and listen to this past Friday's show, but the Friday before with Sean, the guest we had on there, he goes in depth, so do I, about walk-ins and stuff like that, and fractal, being a fractal of your soul. These beings do the same thing. A piece of them breaks off and can literally attach, and it's not even their whole being. It's hard to explain. If you don't understand, like if you're a newbie here, you're probably not going to know what we're talking about. But that's kind of what this is. So a piece of it is it's like they leave a little piece of themselves, and it messes with you until the energy dissipates. And in essence, it kind of dies off. Right? Now, what happened to Vanessa when she went back home, it was way worse than what happened to Jack and to Alicia. What happened to her and Cameron, what happened to Vanessa and Cameron was much different. Not different, not way different. It was the same stuff, the dreams and all that, but it was worse, way worse. She said we were sitting out in the back patio. She's like, we had just redone our patio. We had this nice patio. We're enjoying the breeze. My husband and me had made some mojitos. We're sitting there. Where she's like, I see on the skyline. It's West Texas. You can see for miles. But she says, I see this big bird, like you see the wings kind of flapping and then soaring and then flapping and then soaring. And as it got closer, she's like, I started telling my husband, she's like, I was like, Cameron, that thing is like huge. It doesn't look like a bird to me. He starts staring. He got a pair of binoculars. He goes inside. He comes back out and he's looking and he's like, honey, let's get inside. He said that when he saw that in the binoculars, he said, that's what made me, like, I woke up. Let's put it that way. He goes, before that, it was like I was sleepwalking about all this. What he saw, he said, man, it looked like a bird, kind of like a bird. The wings, the wings had feathers. The wings were feathered, the ones that he saw, not like what Jack said he saw at the RV. He said it was like feathered, but the head looked like a woman's face with like a beak. It was so bizarre. And he said, dude, I can't even tell you, man. He goes, and the eyes were red. He goes, and that thing was coming toward me. And he goes, and I'm going to tell you something else. He goes, I thought it was like talking to me. Like it didn't open its mouth, but it was like saying, I'm coming for you. He said that night, he goes, my wife actually went to sleep. She takes a prescription she was having sleep, insomnia. She was afraid to go to sleep because she was having sleep paralysis. So they gave her these pills. She didn't want to take them. And he told her, look, honey, you got to take this. This is going to help you. And so he says, I'm laying there. And he goes, and I'm watching ESPN. And it's kind of funny because he's a Cowboys fan like me. We both talk about being pissed off at them. We got into a whole thing about Jerry Jones too. But he's like, I'm sitting there watching ESPN. And I'm like, damn, I'm sitting there like, man, this sucks. So I'm sitting there, and he goes, and I'm looking, and he goes, and I hear boom, 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 boom. And he's like, I'm like, what the heck was that? He goes, I get up, I go across the hall. We got a small child, my firstborn. She's asleep. He's like, and I'm going, what the heck was that? That's a weird noise, He's like, and I'm one of those people. He goes, I'm up at night. He goes, my job is working at night. And he goes, so when I'm off for a few days, I get these 4 or 5 days off. He goes, I just kind of switch slowly back to a day schedule. By that point, I'm back on the nights. He goes, but because of our children, he goes, my wife had to be on the day schedule. He said, and so I'm over there, I'm up, and I'm trying to get to sleep. It's like 1 a.m. He goes, and then I thought back to what I saw earlier. I'm sorry. This was the next day. Sorry. This would have been not that night that he saw that thing, but the next night. Sorry about that, folks. He goes, so I'm thinking what I saw the day before. He's like, and I'm thinking, what the heck? What was that? He goes, and the fear came over me. He's like, my body was vibrating from the fear. I was shaking. He's like, and of course he's armed. He goes and he grabs his weapon and he's like, I got to go look on the roof. He goes out to the backyard. He's got a big dog, Timber. Cool name for a dog. I was like, I'm stealing that. You can see my new dog. I'm going to say, this is my dog, Timber. I thought of it myself. I named him that myself. Okay, I'm lying. I got it from a listener. I took liberties.
But I talked to the listener myself.
I talked to the listener. I told him I was going to steal the name. That's it. That's all.
I spoke to the dog that the listener had
And
myself.
the dog said he wanted to be named that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
He gave us permission. Yeah.
The dog put his paw up and was panting. When a dog does that, that means, yes, you can name him whatever you want.
I speak dog, I know.
That's actually what most dogs do, so you get away with it. You're just like, hey. So you like that? Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. High five. You're Timber now. Anyways, he says, I took my dog out there, Timber. He's like, and he's a German Shepherd mix. He goes, and he's a bad dude, man. He's not a scaredy cat. He goes, and I trained him myself. And so he goes, we go outside. He goes, and this dog ran to the back door and started clawing, trying to get back inside. He's like, so at that point, he goes, we have 2 dogs. And he goes, I had to bring out the big guns. He goes, I went inside and I got my other dog. So he brings out his little Chihuahua. And the dog's name is Chewy. And Chewy went crazy.
He's the meanest one of the bunch.
Crazy came out. He goes, Chewy's not one of those barky Chihuahuas. He's real quiet, I said, yeah, I've seen him. There's a few. My dog was like that. He goes, take him outside, and he goes nuts. He's just like, he's just going crazy. He's like a wind-up toy. He's like, and I was just trying, because I couldn't, he goes, I didn't see anything. But my dogs were freaking out, and they both ran inside. And I went ahead and let Timber inside. I'm like, you big baby. He's like, and I turn around. He's like, and right there in the corner of my backyard, in a tree, in this big tree up in my backyard, he's like, I see this thing. There's like, I forgot to tell you, there's like a little treehouse type thing he is building for his daughter. He's like, and I see this thing, and it's moving around, and it's inside, and I can see like it moving side to side, and it's got like wings. He goes, I couldn't tell you like the size of the wings. He's like, so I went back inside, I grabbed the flashlight, and I came back out, and it was gone. He's like, all I saw was like a shadow, then it moved. And he goes, so I thought maybe it's still in there. So I had to walk around the other side. I look, there's nothing there, but I saw a shadow. And he's like, and whatever was in that tree, that partially built treehouse, he's like, it was big and it had wings. And he's like, and I go, what the heck am I dealing with? He goes, and I'm out there with my gun. He goes, and I'm not feeling safe. My dogs are terrified. He goes, and the Chihuahua thing's not a joke. I mean, he goes, I really did take him out there. I said, why is that? I had an idea, but I wanted him to tell me. He goes, because that dog's got balls. He's like, he's a brazen little, like, he's cool. He'll bark and growl. He's not afraid. Chihuahuas have a habit of thinking that they're bigger than they are. Yeah. They really do.
Mm-hmm.
Ours was cool. She was not like that. She was just like, I don't have time for this crap. Like
Banjo's not
sweet
scary.
pea. Now Banjo's not too bad either, but he'll go nuts on you.
Yeah.
If he thinks that they're messing with you.
Not to mention, like, even the border collies. Like, when I took him outside earlier today, Cooper was just, come sniffing up to him, and Banjo was just like, you're not coming up to me, man. I do not like you, buddy.
Yeah, Banjo is a very stand your ground. He's like, this is stand your ground state. There's castle laws. And he quotes the law to us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what ended up happening, this person, he tells me, Cameron, he says, look, I know that there was something there. He goes, and then I heard that over my head, and I look. He goes, and I go back inside. About a week goes by, and they're down the street at a neighbor's house at a pool party. And he goes, and Jack and Alicia were there. We were all there. And it's actually his cousin's cousin. And he's like, and we're, she recently married this guy from the military. He goes, and we're there, and we're all bringing food and stuff. And it was the next weekend. He's like, and I'll never forget. He goes, one of the neighbors started talking about seeing something really weird in the neighborhood. And his wife, she says, it's a Lechuza. So Cameron, he's a white guy. He's not Hispanic. Jack is half, but he was raised like a white guy. And so they started talking, and Vanessa is Hispanic, right? But she herself says she don't speak Spanish. She's not really she wasn't raised like that, But she said, that she knew what the Lechuza was from her grandmother. So they started talking, like, what did it look like? And they said, well, our son was riding his bike, and this thing jumped out of a tree, landed on the ground. He turned around, he thought it was a big owl, but it had the face of a woman. And it began to run down the street. And then get this. This kid's like 8 years old, dude. He's on his bike, right? It's summertime. He's trying to just go and have fun, not be attacked by the devil. And this thing stands up on this, with the way the legs, he said they looked like really long chicken legs, is the way he described it. What he's talking about is that the bottom part of the chicken, and it was running down the street after him. Then its wings expanded, and it took off flying, and it flew overhead, and it reached down for him, and he looked up, and it was gone. Now, he goes back and he tells his parents this, and they're just like, yeah, okay, kid. Yeah, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I've heard of this. It was a house that turned into a chicken, and it ran after some people in Russia, right? Something. They don't know what the heck this is. They're like, this doesn't make any sense. But then the neighbor told them, their neighbor who's Hispanic said, that's a Lechuza. So they were all debating it by the pool. And then Cameron, he's sitting there, and Vanessa's like, he's very quiet. When I was talking to her about it, she said, he's very quiet. He's not saying anything. And he's like, just his leg is, she's like, when he's nervous, his leg goes up and down 1,000 miles an hour. And she's like, well, honey, what's going on? He's like, oh, nothing. Everything's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. She's like, okay, something happened. He's like, okay, about a week ago, I saw that damn thing. He just goes up to the treehouse. And yeah. She's like, were you planning on telling me this? He's like, no, I didn't want to worry you. She goes, well, I'm already worried. There's a lot of weird stuff happening. She saw this weird thing crawl up the stairs that looked like something with a hunchback crawling up her stairs. Black, solid black. There was no form to it. And the legs were kind of kicked out, long, elongated legs. And it had this kind of like a weird, when it turned its head to the side, you could see a muzzle with ears, kind of like a dog. But it was just like this big blob in the middle. And it was moving up the stairs. So she says, I told you about what I saw a few days ago. And he said, why didn't you tell me what you saw back there? He goes, I don't know. So they go outside, and there on this lawn furniture is her rock, the one that she had taken from the Big Bend National Park. Now, here's the thing about that. And I told her, I said, you still had the rock? Like, what? That was aggravating me. I was starting to get aggravated. I'm like, look, throw the rock, get rid of it, whatever you got to do. So she said, this is about a 4-hour or 5-hour drive back out there. So she says, I told my husband, I said, next weekend we need to go. She took the rock. And she said that night this is what happened to the neighbor, because the neighbor called her the next day and said, last night, he's like, get this. Bless you. Hold on one second, folks. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right. So that night, there was the loud, like a thunderstorm rolled in, like what they thought was a thunderstorm, but there was no rain. And get this, the only people that noticed it were people in that neighborhood. Like nobody else noticed it. And there was no rain. So they thought they heard this thunder. And he said, last night I thought it was going to rain, but there was no rain. It was just thunder and no lightning, But he heard this loud splash. This is the guy who owns the swimming pool. The neighbor's kid was the one that saw the bird, right? And he says he goes out into the pool and he sees something like kind of like shiny into the pool. And so he reaches down and he pulls it out, and it's this turquoise rock. And on one side of it looks like an eye carved into it. She said the longer that she had it, the more it looked like an eye. And she had pictures of it, but she got rid of them. And I don't blame her. I wouldn't want to keep it. And she said that the end was when she deleted the pictures off the phone. That was it. She didn't have the same problems happening. So she told her husband, she says, let's take a trip. Let's drop, our daughter off, my mom's, and let's go back out there and let's throw that rock. And he said, okay. So they get out near Alpine, and he's tired and she's tired. And he's just like, I don't want to drive all the way out there. So they threw it out the window.
Oh, man.
They didn't see it again. It didn't reappear. It's not like the key, but they didn't make it out to the Big Bend National Park, and they just decided partway to throw it. So somewhere out near Alpine, there's a rock, a turquoise rock that they thought maybe be connected to this. I said, did it stop the things? She said, no, not really. Unfortunately, she said that it went on. And the problem was that she goes, I had pictures of this thing, but it wasn't as bad, if that makes sense. She said there was no more shadow beings in the house, and our neighbors weren't talking about seeing things. And we never told them, hey, man, maybe it's because of this rock. Well, the guy that was their neighbor told them, I found this rock, and the other neighbor who's good friends with Cameron told him about it. He said, oh, that's my wife's. And he took it back only because he didn't want them to have the problems. So that's honorable. Take it back. He says, it's our problem. We got to deal with it. So this thing, whatever it was, didn't show itself again, but Cameron became a believer. But they had nightmares, dreams, and the same dreams. They had a dream that they were at that pool party, but everybody was kind of like in a trance. This is a dream that they both had. Right? And so Vanessa said, I had this dream, and me and Cameron were at the party, and nobody was moving. They were just standing there like they were frozen in time. Like everybody was just, I would call it like suspended animation. They didn't say that, but my words. And she's like, and then I fell into the pool and I started to drown. I couldn't get out. She's like, and then Cameron dove in and pulled me out. But then once he got me out, I couldn't, like, I was trapped. I couldn't get out. I was trying to pull him out, but I wasn't strong enough. And so eventually we both woke up and we were both like looking at each other like, what the heck? Cameron confirmed to me too. He says, man, I would never in a million years have believed that this stuff could happen. Especially to me, I'm a skeptic. I'm a confirmed skeptic. And now he's like, I know better now. And since then, they've had something else where this isn't the only thing they've told me. There's other stuff that we're going to talk about on another show eventually. And it's a Dogman story, but it involves Cameron's friend, him and Jack's friend they used to work with. But that's for another episode. But he said, he goes, dude, I believed him. When my friend started telling me about this werewolf-like creature, he's like, he goes, you're the only one that believes me. So he calls up Jack, and he says, Jack, check it out, So their friend told Jack, and then Jack was like, oh boy. So Jack told him. He's like, man, I know what Dee's talking about. Oh, yeah, that's George and Ari. Okay, so I'll address that in a minute here. It's kind of a funny story. Hopefully George won't get mad about it. But anyway, so should I even tell the story?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
if you don't have the person's
Yeah, I don't want to. Let's not talk about it. It's a private thing, between me and two other people. So, anyways, what ended up happening was this thing had basically what I believe. This is my opinion. Y'all, give me your opinions in the chat, and we can talk about it. But I think it imprinted on them because Jack, in particular, started seeing things pretty regularly. It wasn't like that before. He goes, I didn't. He goes, I would see something and I wouldn't believe that it was not Jack. I'm sorry, Cameron. He goes, I would see things and I wouldn't, believe that I was what I was seeing. He goes, but I believe that it opened my eyes to this. He's like, and Jack never saw anything again, but he did have that encounter. And he tells anybody who listened, he saw a gargoyle. Here's the question I have for everybody in the audience, though. Why did it change its appearance to look more bird-like if it is the same thing? That's the question. Why was it a gargoyle-looking thing out there? Or was it two different things? And what was the thing that when she was a child, did it have anything to do with this? These are the questions. You don't really... and here we are, and we can't really answer. Tomorrow night I want to talk a little bit about the way that people see these demons, the way that they look at them, the world that we think that we know. It's not the way we think it is. And just in the way that. What was I going to talk about tonight? I was going to talk about it, but then I was like, maybe I shouldn't. There's a hierarchy, and everybody knows that, but they're not the way you think they are. I mean, in my opinion, I just don't believe that. They're like families. Mm-hmm. They're like gangbangers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like gang warfare.
It is, and so there's different ones, different kinds. And you don't really know what you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I can tell you this. One of the things that helped deliver not only Vanessa and Cameron, but Jack and Alicia too, was that they all started, well, Alicia did. She started a prayer group. And there were people in their neighborhood that started praying with them and going to the prayer group. And she had a weird story because one of the people that started going to the prayer group, eventually him and his wife got divorced. She came clean and told him that he was a devout Satanist. He was only infiltrating their prayer circle. And that he had been doing black magic shortly before all of that stuff happened, and then they had separated, and then he came back. He moved to not a neighboring town, but out near a neighboring town out in the country. Then he moved back, and then it said, "Oh, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to give my life to God." He never did. So when they were going to this whatever, and so at one point Vanessa said they were praying, and she looks up and she sees this guy standing there going like just staring with this mean, ugly stare while everybody's got their head bowed and praying. And then he was doing what people like that do. He was going to different people in the group. There was about 8 of them at that point. It ended up being 16. That's a lot. That's a good people. That's a lot of people. But he was going around. No, Jack was not a Satanist. No, this is a neighbor. I don't even know this guy's name. Well, they told me, but I don't remember. But
he's someone who joined the prayer.
He's somebody that joined the prayer group. And Jack and Alicia and Vanessa and Cameron all found out that this guy was not a good guy. But he was going from the person to person,
door to door.
Yeah, and he was getting everybody against everybody, and he was just throwing in conversation, or it could be a conversation about a borrowed lawnmower, which is one of the conversations they said it was. And then he starts running somebody down to that person and leaves them with that nugget of hate. And then the next thing you know, they're just, it's happening over and over again. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so he was basically infiltrating he did infiltrate their prayer group.
Them.
Mm-hmm. And so that person did that. And then he ended up going to jail because he tried to blackmail a cop, which was just really, it was a weird thing. So the question was this. Now here, you got to look at it different ways. What this thing that they were seeing in the neighborhood, because it wasn't just them, was it something that he may have conjured up, or the energy he brought to them or to himself and affected the people around him? And maybe they wouldn't have been affected as much if she hadn't taken that rock. Maybe they wouldn't have been affected as much if they hadn't ran into what they ran into at Big Bend National Park, because it could have been 2 different things. But that energy, that fractal energy, got on them and opened them up to whatever this was that this guy had summoned, because maybe he did. Or they brought something back and he latched onto it. There's different ways to look at it. That's what I'm saying. You don't really know, because a demon is a demon is a demon. They're not all the same. And you don't know exactly what they're doing.
It's the chicken and the egg. You don't know which one.
It's like there's these different different factions that have their own self-interest, and you're just caught in the middle. We had gotten into this recently. I think it was a recent live stream where you had made the point that, and it was a good point, that that these things they have like this attachment to the soil, the place that they inhabit. And you had made the point that according to the legend of Dracula, whenever he goes somewhere, he has to take the soil from where he's from with him. And I think that's based in something. There's something about that is real, because that her taking that rock, it's like there's some kind of attachment that these entities have to where they are localized to where they're from. And on the first episode, this past Friday, our episode that we did with Sean, both of y'all had raised a good point about how these cryptids, these spirits, that they have an ability to lock down parts of reality that are localized to them.
Yeah, that's why you got to watch the different episodes, even the pre-records, because let's get to that in a minute. Okay, let's get into that. So somebody will have an encounter. I think there's been a bunch of different encounters. I don't know exactly which one we used on Sean's, because and you do on the pre-record, you can have them all pulled up right there. But hold on.
Yeah, there he is.
So one of the things I was going to say, they can, you're right. These entities, they can lock down parts of reality. Last night we did the one about the black-eyed kids, and If you listen to that episode about the black-eyed kids, folks, and I suggest you do, and if you've already listened to it, listen to it again, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. That you named it something about burglary or something. I'm not trashing it, but that doesn't. I don't know. That doesn't have nothing to do with it. Maybe you're just tired. I don't know.
Or they're trying to rob her.
There was no burglary. I just these entities, though, they're trying to get into somebody's house. But here's the thing: they have this way of locking down, and we're going to get into it, later on, either this month or next month. I have a friend that was a security guard. He passed away. Elijah is a good friend of mine, but he was a very no-nonsense guy, former military, everything. He was a very, I don't know how you say it. He was very outgoing, but he didn't take no crap. You know what I mean? Like, he'd give you your last dollar, but don't mess with him. He's that kind of person. And these black-eyed kids, they mess with him. And one thing I got to say, though, is he said this to me too. And that way that he talks, he's like, man, these things got like an ability to just kind of cut you off from reality. When he said that, I was like, that makes sense, because these entities do that. They will isolate you from your reality, and it's kind of like a sliver of your reality. It becomes,
It's like they pull you into a side.
They
reality,
pull you into a
reality.
pocket reality. Yeah, there you go. And that's something that we had talked about with that guest, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back and you listen to that and listen to the one with Sean, the last 2 weeks, you'll learn something. And I really think that this could have been what happened with Jack. I mean, with all these people, with Cameron. I mean, when he went outside and saw the.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense, because you hear it all the time about how, like, right before they see whatever they see, there's like no noise in the forest. And I used to think like, oh, it's because animals and insects, they can sense it or whatever, so they're being quiet. But it would make more sense if he just either separated that area of the forest from our reality, and that's why like all those insects and whatever aren't there. And that's why if you're in the city or whatever, there aren't people walking by seeing it as well sometimes, because you're just there with this thing by itself.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you could look that way when you talk.
Okay,
there you go.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
You're looking at me, so it's kind of yeah. So yeah, but what you're saying, it's how the sound. And we just got that one from God, what's that guy's name? Just recently, me and you, Tony, were talking about it. Not Eric. I hate when I'll go back and look, but he was hunting, and he saw the predator-looking thing we were talking about the other night. Yeah, when we were doing the patrol. The forest going quiet, and then he asked me that question. He was like, "Why?
Why did it go quiet?" And
I'm like, "Dude, I mean, but I think we know now, because they pull you into a pocket reality. This whole thing about, well, when a predator's close by, how many people have been? I have a friend who was literally attacked by a bear. She was attacked by a bear. Okay, literally." She was literally playing with a bear cub, but she didn't get mauled by a bear. The mom came out, went at her, and she jumped in the car real quick. Unfortunately, she had the damn cub in her arms, so she put it out the window. Bear came up and smacked the heck out of their SUV and nearly knocked it over. This really happened, right? This was up in Yellowstone. But let me tell you something. Now, she's a friend. I've known her husband for years, a good friend of mine. That, of course, it was like 20, 30 years ago, but nothing's changed in that time. She didn't report the whole forest going quiet. I don't buy into that. I've had people get chased by all kinds of predators, things in Africa. And the guy in Africa, Mackay, when he saw those weird creatures that they killed, those weird hyena-looking creatures, the woods didn't go quiet.
Yeah.
He was in like, whoa, it was just completely quiet. And then we started fighting. You say, no, I don't buy into that really. But I think what it is, though, with these entities, it's hit or miss. But I think sometimes it does happen that way. And I think it happens that way because these are entities. They're pulling you into their own reality. You are now part of that reality. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't happen all the time, because if it was just a predator was around, why would a grasshopper give a shoot about?
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make.
They're like, oh, the bugs even get quiet when there's a panther around. Like, the old timers used to say that. And I was like,
why?
Why would a grasshopper or a cricket give two? They're not even
predated upon by.
Yeah, they don't care what a panther is doing.
Yeah.
No offense against the older generation. I'm not even talking about the boomers. I'm talking about the one before them. My great great uncles and stuff, they would tell me some crazy stuff. They'd be like, oh, you're out there in the woods and it gets quiet, because you're being pulled into another reality. Of course, I'm 9, 10 years old. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can just watch nature documentaries and you could see that the animals aren't getting quiet when they're getting attacked, or there's lions hunting the gazelles or whatever. It's not all of a sudden just silent everywhere. There's plenty of noise going around.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting here. Gilbert says, I had an out-of-body experience. I looked at my arms, was emerald, translucent. Then my friend knocked and went down. Whoa, that's weird. See, and now I've had people see, Gilbert, I've had people talk about, seeing sapphire colors and, different types of rain, excuse me, different types of, why is this, my voice going out? No.
He said
Every time we start getting down to the bottom of stuff, that's what happens.
He said he fell himself asleep on the
Mike
couch.
Turner, what's up, my man? Mike, brother from another mother.
Don J says, so they basically have pocket dimensions or domains or alternate realities where they have ultimate control, similar to Freddy Krueger in the dreaming world. Also, you remember that scene on the first Mortal Kombat where the Scorpion's fighting Johnny Cage in the woods, and like he pulls him into like his reality, which is like this hell realm.
The movie?
Yeah, it was the first movie from like '97.
No, those are pretty bad. But he pulled him into the.
No, the first one's good.
I mean, the point though, I don't get. I get your point though. I don't remember that, but if he says it happened,
Yeah, well, Anthony says it.
I could have sworn that
it's on the internet now. It has to be true.
Don't pick at him too much.
It's also
come at us.
No, I mean, I'm
VHS and DVD and Blu-ray.
He pulled him into like the nether realm.
Yeah, the low price of $14.99.
What are you doing? Like, did they pay you to promote it?
This episode is sponsored by the first Mortal Kombat.
Well, don't say that.
Whoever directed that movie, guy.
Don't say that. The ops will go and look it up and see. Once again, Josh Turner has lied on his show and said that Mortal Kombat sponsored them. They did not sponsor them. He is a liar. He is a liar. He is an apostate and a heretic.
I'll be expecting a check for $10,000 for that plug in the mail.
Did it make $10,000?
Okay.
Well,
now we're going to get in trouble by the.
It costs that much to make.
The companies over there going like, okay, how do we sue these people?
The second one was terrible, but the first one was pretty good. I liked it.
This is interesting. Excalibur, you'll be on tomorrow. I mean, we'll be on tomorrow night on Monday. Come on the show and tell that story. But if you got a story to tell, this is not the night, but tomorrow night for sure. We always get 300-400 people in the chat. It's not a huge chat. Usually it's our smaller one, but it's real cool. We always have a lot of people telling encounters, and we always get at least one or two really, really good ones. Missed last Monday, but yeah. Dick Richards, PRT brought to you by Cold Steel Knives. So read that there.
My sister most likely got pulled into a different reality at Big Tree State Park in California. Ooh.
Yeah, Gilbert, that's probably what happened. He says his friend knocked on the door and went back into his body. Yeah, that's probably because every time I interview somebody and I ask them about OBEs, when I talk to these people, and I talked briefly, at least briefly to each one of them, and talked to a couple of them more, but they all talked about having having out of body experiences with this. When when Vanessa saw that thing crawling up the stairs, she had gone to the restroom. Get this. This is weird. She had gone to the restroom, and she got to go to the restroom, and the door was closed to the bathroom in the master bedroom, right? So she thought that her husband, Cameron, was in the bathroom, so she didn't even think twice. She walked around the corner. There's a bathroom out there in the hallway. So she went to go use that bathroom, and then she heard that screeching noise, that like this kind of weird noise. And so she goes and looks down the hallway and doesn't see anything, goes and she sees the stairs, and there's this thing making its way up the stairs, not looking up at her, just kind of doing what it's doing. And she's like, what the heck? then I asked her that question. I said, "Were you dreaming? Because you come out of your body when you dream." And now these idiots go around saying that's astral projection. No, you're not doing it. If you're doing it on purpose or something, that's. But if it's just you're coming out of your body, you can't really. Most people can't control that, right?
Yeah.
And so thank you, Mike.
Thanks so much, Mike.
And so then she goes back into the bedroom and she sees Cameron laying there sleeping. And so she realizes, she lays down. She goes, it was almost like I woke up, like I laid down, closed my eyes for a second. Then I woke up and I realized that I hadn't used the bathroom yet. And an hour had gone by. She said it was get this, it was 3:04 a.m. when she saw that in the hallway or on the stairs. She woke up and it was 4:04 a.m., 1 hour exactly. Like, how do you close your eyes and then open them and so the next day she goes, we wake up about the same time, because we were kind of on that same schedule at that time. And she said that he got up with me and we were in there together brushing our teeth and, whatever. She said, Cameron, I got up last night and I saw something really weird, but she didn't tell him what it was at that time. She told him at lunch. And then he still didn't tell her what he had seen in the backyard, in which I told him, I said, you should have said something at that time. But she told him that she had seen something. And he was like, oh, wow, just kind of disinterested, whatever. She's like, but you were in the bathroom, so I had to use the other bathroom. And that's when I heard it, I wouldn't have heard it if I hadn't gone out of the room. And he was like, what time was this? She told him, he's like, I didn't get up to go to the bathroom. He's like, He goes, I woke up at 5 or something, and you were there just passed out. He goes, and I got up to use the bathroom. He's like, I didn't get up until 3 o'clock. But she didn't bother to look to see if he was laying next to her.
No.
She just assumed. So that's when she went outside. So there again, that's kind of like a pocket reality. She's walking out of the room because she's thinking that there's something happening. Or I'm saying she's not thinking that there's something happening. She's just going to the bathroom. But then she hears the scratch. She's like a scratching noise going up the stairs. But at the time, she thought it was in the hallway. She looks down the hallway, don't see anything, and then she sees the thing. So it's kind of like maybe this thing was making noise to be heard, right? So it kind of sets a stage where it manipulates a couple different things where you have to be confronted with it. Then you are pumped up with fear, and it sucks that energy off of you. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm rambling here. Maybe I'm getting too far in my head.
No, it's like a form of like almost like hunting or something. I don't know. Like there's a method to the madness. Put it that way.
I think someone said it's like similar to what Freddy Krueger does, where he jumps into, or you jump into his nightmare.
Which we know there's soft disclosure and everything.
Yeah.
But like it also would make sense why during like alien abductions or even certain, in bed scenarios with spouses, why like they just cannot for the love of them get up for anything.
Yeah.
It's because maybe it's like a silence or like a halt on the space or whatever, or they're in just a different place.
Yeah. So I got to say this. Somebody just segued off into there. Sean Hertel says, I got bench. Man, I have a huge knife collection. Benchmade is good, but I really like Zero Tolerance. If you go and you look up Zero Tolerance, Sean, they're really, really good knives. We thought at one time, remember, we had a friend who had a connection in Vietnam, and they could make the knives and you could get them engraved. So me and Tony kicked the idea around. Remember, Tony, you and D, and we were like, "Can we collect knives?" Me, Tony, and D collect knives. Anthony's afraid of them; he's a sissy. But we were like,
I don't collect them.
They're squarely.
He has knives. He just doesn't collect them. You understand? Y'all are weird. You're collectors because his room has nothing in it. He has a desk and he doesn't have a desk. He has a, what is it?
Yeah, it is pretty.
He has a bed and a cage for story. That's all he needs.
Yeah.
He says, I'm a minimalist. You're a minimalist. Yes. I have 4 shirts. He does like this.
I didn't realize
just in case there might be another one.
I'd make a good communist, actually. I hate to admit that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty like utilitarian with everything.
Well, yeah, but
like no decoration, no, nothing. If it doesn't serve an immediate purpose, throw it out.
It's weird going like the disparity between.
Thank God you're not.
I should have been a freaking Russian or something.
Russians aren't communists, and all communists aren't Russian.
Yeah,
the difference.
Get it? It's a mentality.
It's a mentality, yeah.
Or it's a mental disease. I mean to say.
It is. Well, your family hate the hell out of communists because they're Vietnamese. And your dad's Taiwanese, so they really hate the communists. But so anyway, here's what he says. Brand says about the Benchmade's great, but there's definitely better out there. Yes, there are. I wish I could do a show right now.
Well,
But
surprisingly, Civivi is a good brand.
dude, I'm gonna tell you what Civivi is.
Yeah.
That's a Chinese brand.
Yeah.
That's a Chinese brand. It was made Italian made, but it's Chinese.
Mhm.
So we here at PRT, we were literally going to make these engraved knives, and we could get them done for like $6 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
So me, Tony, and Dee were like, "Yeah, let's do that." And then Nelly was like, I think it was you or Nelly, one of y'all party poopers was like, "Someone's gonna cut themselves, and we're gonna get sick." And I was like, "Dang, why you always gotta?
Why do you gotta be logical?"
We could have been giving knives away to people, you know. And the next thing you know, somebody gets cut, and it's a PRT knife, and then and let's not do that. So
I don't know how that's our fault, though.
well, still though, you know
Yeah.
how it goes. Somebody will be like, they curse these knives to stab, and cut and hurt people. And that's what they do. Is
They didn't tell me this knife was sharp and could cut me.
Yeah.
you didn't tell me this blade had a blade on it.
Yeah. You didn't put a disclaimer on this knife.
Yeah, and James says Spyderco. And let me tell you, Gerber's such a disappointment. I used to love Spyderco and Gerber. But there's some really good knives out there, man. I could do a show about that. SOG, there you go.
SOG is a good
SOG,
one.
yeah. This is why I love my audience. You guys know. You just know, right? You just know. I wish I could do a review on the Pew Pews, but I don't want to get, I'll probably mess with you too much there. But I could tell you all about them. I could tell you all about them. And Kershaw too is another one. I have a bunch of Kershaws. Usually I get I give myself a little gift every couple of months. I'll buy a really nice knife or whatever. And for some reason, somebody takes them off my desk.
No. He doesn't take them. He collects them
No, that's not
from
me.
your desk and wherever else they're at.
It could be anyone. It could be the devil, the Diablo. I mean,
Well,
He's an
I know my brother has communistically reacquisitioned a couple of them himself. And Scorpion, I know you're in there lurking somewhere. I don't see him in the chat, but I know you're somewhere there. You've reacquisitioned the seven,
See,
but you know who really did it though?
Zane was horrible.
Zane
at it.
took like
I remember
Man.
I went through his bag. It was
Backpack.
just knife and knife and
he had
knife.
like
I'm
30
like,
of them in there, man.
see, the thing is,
That's my
though,
other nephew.
my knives stay normally in my room collected, whereas they take their knives with them and then they lose them and then they need another knife. So,
You have to keep taking them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the K bars are nice, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine who's a SEAL who I worked with for years. He gave me a really nice diver's knife for my birthday one year. Man, that was a nice one.
you have a really awesome one in your backpack in the closet that it's like shaped.
What are you doing with in that backpack?
I was snooping looking for
Y'all are-
Essentials.
I can't
essentials.
have nothing.
What if someone decided to come in and all my weapons were magically just, not usable? I would have to know where you keep yours in case I needed to use them.
This
That's
is
Tony logic.
Tony logic here.
So I need therefore skip to I need your knife.
Somehow he
What if-
was in our closet,
Yeah.
which I don't even know what the hell you were doing in there, and then come out of the closet, Tony.
What if while I'm in there snooping, someone's broke in? I would need to know where you kept all your knives. and
Yeah, I see
stuff.
that.
I'm doing you a favor by having that knowledge.
Well, I know this. At one time, me and my brother had a friend too that would make knives. He passed away sadly, but he lived out near Bastrop and he would make knives. And then of course we have our friend who makes swords, but he makes like I told him, I said, can you get me a Wakasashi? I wanted a cheap one. And he says, yeah, it's about $6,000. I'm like, what? I could go buy another Crown Vic to go driving for that. I could literally buy a Crown Vic for that. Like, why would I go for a blade? Come on. And he's like, well, if you want a Japanese blade, I'm Japanese and I make them. And I said, that makes sense, but I don't have $6,000. But he was just recently at that Ren Fair. What's it called? The Renaissance Festival.
Mhm.
He's down there at the Ren Fair this past weekend or whatever. And I was like, I kind of teased him. I was like, I'm glad it rained because I can't afford it. I'm just being salty because I can't afford the freaking blade. Whatever, dude. I don't need more knives anyway. I got plenty. But I love knives. I got pocket knives. I got fixed blade knives. I got all kinds.
We love a lot of weapons, to be honest.
Yeah. But here's the thing, there is an intrinsic value to certain things, and if it's got a resale value, that's what's important, really, is if you have a resale value to it.
You have a
Sean, you're right about that. Do what?
I said you have a really I've never opened it before, but that broadsword or bastard sword I was holding in the living room, it has a beautiful Damascus steel finish on it.
So you basically just go in and mess with all my stuff. Am I like when I'm gone? That's what you do? You just
No, you're there. Just
He's like my little sister at Christmas time with the presents.
I'm just like a
I'm
rat.
just fixing them.
If I notice you coming
No,
down,
I'm
I
just
like
fixing them.
hide in the hole.
I believe it. So I can't ever find any damn thing. But that's okay. You know, I don't care.
I'm a fan of them. I don't know
Yeah,
if you want me to
Damascus
say.
steel is very neat too. I got a lot of one of these days I'll do a show. Maybe we'll do it on Random Files. And I'll just showcase some of the knives and explain what they are and how they work. Blades. I tell you this though, when we had the condo, when we had the blades up on the walls, we
Oh
had
my
a bunch of
gosh.
activity.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we should hang stuff on the walls again.
Yeah,
And maybe
iron, yeah.
because of the iron, yeah.
Mhm.
So, anyways, folks, that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making PRT what it is. Well, before we go, we're gonna do the giveaway. But does anybody, which we did mail off? We finally got the new mailbox set up. I don't know the address off the top of my head. Madeline is in the chat. Madeline, can you give us the new address for anybody who wants to send something to Paranormal Roundtable? Because I only know part of it. I set it up and then I had to run to the dealership and get some stuff done. Yeah, I know, Randy. Randy says PRT Pocket Knives would have been awesome. It would have been. But then Anthony
It's a
Nelly,
liability.
whoever it was that party pooped, I think it was you, Anthony.
One of these
Probably.
two.
It sounds like me.
I was all for it. I was
He's that
coming up with
bubblegum
design.
guy from
Oh, Benson?
Benson.
Yeah.
Remember we used to joke like that, the regular show?
Yeah,
Because you wouldn't believe all the great ideas me and Tony come up with.
I would be Rigby.
Yeah, you're Rigby and I'm definitely the Blue Jay because I'm a little more sensible. So I come up with some great ideas. Rigby backs me up, and then what happens? Benson over here, you guys are gonna get us in trouble. You guys are shut up, man. Okay, you just shut up and let us get our scars. This is how we grow up. But no, we have to deal with this.
We have to deal with human nature. Can't just ignore it.
I mean, you can.
Well, you can.
Why don't you just live in the moment? And when this,
Can you imagine if we were talking about we don't have the money for it or whatever, but we were talking about getting like one of those really souped up 4-wheelers, and I could just imagine him. He would ruin it. He would probably make us wear safety belts and helmets. I know you, or you'd run into.
I mean, I wouldn't even wear that.
You would go
That's
tell
lame.
no. What you would do is you'd go tell Nelly, and Nelly
Yeah.
would get on us about it. That's what you do.
No. Okay, what would happen is that you would barely even ride it, and then he would end up breaking it.
How would
Somehow,
I barely
some
ride
way.
it? I've been wanting one my whole life.
Well, yeah, but like you don't have. I've never known you to have time for like fun things that you want to do.
Oh, that is true.
So like you would barely ride it. I would ride it somewhat for fun, but also like for practical purposes. He would keep riding it until it just breaks, and then it just broke itself.
I don't know.
Joel
Benson.
says I'm wearing 5K in gold right now.
Sounds like you're ruining the
Do
fun.
you know how
Benson.
much gold is? It's really expensive right now, and this is an investment, bro. This is my retirement. If you want to know the truth, if you couldn't have done better if you didn't buy gold. If you would have bought gold back when it was cheaper. So I can't just take this gold and go sell it because what am I going to do? I can sell little pieces here and there, which I have, but I did that recently to get some of the things we need. But I can't take $5,000 in gold, let's put it this way, and go buy a 4-wheeler. There's two very sensible people in my house. I'm one of them too, but Anthony and Nelly would both probably veto some of the bad ideas that me and Tony come up with. Because we come up with some good ones, though.
No, we do.
Just
Some good bad ideas.
good. And then we get Scorpion and D to go along too. Like, yeah, well, they think it's a good idea, and Nelly's like, exactly. Scorpion and D think it's a good idea. Therefore,
That's a bad sign.
and then Anthony's over there like Benson. You guys. But that's a good thing though, because you want somebody
You need a
that
Benson.
who handles the money and says, "Don't be stupid," and don't folks. Let me give you an example of needing people like that in your life. Jerry Jones. He's the general manager. He's the worst general manager in the history of the NFL. He is the owner and the general manager. And somebody was complaining the other day, and they said this. They said, well, Jerry Jones should hire a general manager. I said, yeah. And it would be the same. It would be Jerry's world, only he'd be paying somebody. Because that general manager wouldn't be able to do anything because Jerry's going to make sure that he vetoes what he doesn't like and goes along with what he does. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you can hire somebody to be your life coach or your whatever. If you don't take their advice, what good is it? You're wasting your money.
I mean, yeah, Jerry Jones is going to do what Jerry Jones wants. Having a general manager is just having someone there to fight with. And then he's going to end up doing what he wants anyway.
Meddle.
It's an expensive person to argue with. No, I think we have a good system and people could learn from it. Instead, people mock it, make fun of it. They don't realize you need people like that to tell you, hey, you're stupid. Right there. There's the address, folks. Feast your eyes on the address. 1841. Well, you can see it. It's right there. 1841, some letters. That's the address, folks. Okay. Take it right there. There it is. If you want to send us something, that'll be the new mailing address. I had to go in there and talk to them in person. I met the people. They're really nice people. We're going to be, and it's closer now, and so that's just where, it just makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And some people's packages, let me be honest, some people's packages weren't really, that we were getting complaints and everybody was getting their stuff. One person we sent the stuff to like 2 or 3 times and it was never confirmed. And then all of a sudden 2 things get sent back. They switched owners.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say anything bad about the new people. I'm just going to say that the old people that I dealt with, they're not.
We didn't have many issues.
Problems. We had a bunch of problems with this new regime. Had to go to somewhere else. That's it.
And it wasn't like we were getting the addresses wrong, but someone was.
Cruz says he loses his gumballs. Talking about Anthony. Yeah, he can lose his gumballs sometimes. So there it is, folks. There's the show. Thank you for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow night, and we'll get into some more weird stuff. What is this? Wicked Edge Knife Sharpeners. Gravy of medium. Oh, yeah, dude. I got some good knife sharpeners. I can tell you who can sharpen your knife real good is Scorpion. You give him your knife, he'll sharpen it up for you. I lost my place here. Well, there was somebody that said something. I was going to. Okay, so Kathy Koiser says, I haven't won. So, Kathy, you win. You'll be the first winner. Anybody else? Tell me now.
Also, Bluestone, I see your comment, and I got your email where you sent your name. We sent off your stuff. I'm not gonna say your name, but just trust me. I got your email, so we got you taken care of. Don't worry.
Raven Poe, I haven't won. Stanfield says I want to win, but Stanfield, have you won? That's the question.
I win.
I win. Okay. And then Jackie Burns says, I have not won. So there you can see on how fast you type there. So Kathy Koiser, who else? Raven Poe and Jackie Burns. Y'all win. You're the winners. Put the thing on there. Let's do the thing here.
Yeah, we're gonna put the banner up with the instructions for the winners
at the bottom. Giveaways at prtpodcast.com. Giveaways at prtpodcast.com. That's how you send your information, your shirt size. What else? Whatever. Tonight we're giving away what? Shirts?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you can send your shirt size, your name, and your mailing address, and please just let us know like what your YouTube handle is in the email. Say my name is so and so on YouTube. And then give us your real name so we can put it on your package if it's different from your YouTube name. And then you just let us know your shirt size and your mailing address, and we'll get your stuff sent out. And
another thing, too, folks, we've made a decision on Halloween. Halloween will be a live stream, and we will be here Friday night on a live stream on Halloween. And then that will continue with Sean the next week with his stuff, the guest. This is what we're going to do on Halloween. We're going to have a bunch of different stories, but then we're also going to bring people on, and we're going to do it like very interactive, where people can tell their stories, and then I'm going to tell stories, and we're going to do it kind of like a hyped up Monday, but a really like a big one. And we're going to do giveaways on Halloween. So here's what we decided to do for Halloween. I thought this would be interesting. So make sure that you have a way for us to do this. We're giving away $500 on Halloween. $500, right? We're going to do the 5 giveaways. We're going to do 10 $50 giveaways. $50. 10 people out of the chat. We're going to pick you. And if you're watching on Halloween, we're going to give you $50. So you might just be in the chat and win $50.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. Boom. We're 10 people. We're going to give away $50 to 10 people. Right? So be ready for that.
And if you want to win, then just make sure that you have like a way to receive that set up already. The easiest ways are to set up a Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, but we have all those things, so we can just send that to you immediately. Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. Any of those are good.
And also, do we have the hoodies ready? Do we have hoodies? Do we have the hoodies ready?
I don't know. I mean, we have hoodies, but I don't think we have
the right sizes. Yeah.
Do we have the sizes? That's what we need to check out. We're going to do giveaways. We're going to give away hats, shirts, and hoodies, and we're going to give away money. We're going to do a money giveaway. Really, 10 people, $50. We're doing it. So if you are somebody who wants to win, just say, hey, I want to win. That's what you got to do. It's not that hard. But on the giveaways on Halloween, it's just going to be anybody randomly. It's just going to be whoever randomly. And we're going to do it different ways. We're going to let people that come on be guests, and they can pick, and then we're going to pick, and then we're going to have the audience is going to pick. And who knows? We might get carried away and just give away more. We don't know. We don't know how we're going to do it. We don't know what we're going to do. For all I know, we're going to give away this hat. You like this hat? Let me see here. You see it? It's all full of bats. Too bad you can't have it.
Too bad. You had to be quicker than that.
So anyways, folks, yeah, and we're going to do some other giveaways, too, of some nice things that we have. We're going to give away some things, okay? So there's just going to be a ton of giveaways and money, and we're going to do it. Friday night, Halloween night, what time are we going to get started? 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
We'll be here at 8 o'clock, right?
That's Central Time.
Central Time, 8 o'clock Central Time. Storytelling, people coming on and telling their stories, and a lot of giveaways. So just be ready. Y'all be ready for Halloween, man. It's going to be off the chain awesome. It's going to be the best Halloween that you'll have because you'll be in the chat. You might win.
And no, Katrina, your name does not have to be in green for you to win a giveaway.
Nope.
Just anyone who's here.
Sorry, Michaela M. No knives. We can't give away knives. I wish we could. D says we're going to give away $350. Actually, we're giving away $350 plus $150. Do the math. We're going to give that away.
$700. What?
$500. That monster.
$500.
I feel bad for him. He ain't had no money.
Yeah. Okay. So unless anybody wants to donate between now and then, give us another $100. I'll give one person $100. So if you want to be that person to give $100, I'll give it away. I'll give it away because you know what? I care about my audience. That's what we're going to do. So make sure you, like you said, though, make sure you have a way to receive it.
Mike, the way you win is you just show up here and be with us on Halloween, and we select 10 people.
Oh, Mike, let's be clear though. You're winning $50 of up to 10 people are going to win $50.
Yeah, 10 people.
Not one guy wins $500.
So that's what's going to happen, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being making the best Halloween whatever time. It's awesome. Puck Elf says, you're homeless.
Oh, man.
That's horrible. PM me, Puck. All right. Anyways, guys, I'll see you. All right. We're going to get out of here. We're gonna leave with Nelly's newest song, and that's become my favorite, Frankenstein.
pain of coming back to life. I feel everything, everything. When I open my eyes, your face, I'll never forget. Your horror, my pain, I'm alive, living again. I feel every stitch and every scar. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. You feel like a god. Do you feel like a god? Creating without thinking, no pros, no cons. You let me walk, you let me see, you let me feel. I found her, but she did not know me. I reached for her, but she recoiled in horror. I wanted to beg anything for her love. The look on her face, I want out of this place. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. It doesn't matter, it can't matter no more. I'm incomplete, I'm missing me. The world is darker than I remember. I wanna love her, but this heart is not mine. I wanna touch her, but these hands are not mine. I wanna tell her I love her, but this voice is not mine. Looking into her eyes, I saw how love dies. Now that's where her body lies. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. Revenge shall be mine, I'll catch you in time. You gave me the pain of coming back to life. I want you to see me, look what you've done, what you've done. A man no more from a madman's hands. I walk alone, no part of me is home. Place me back under the stone. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. As I am.